So, but people don't understand the history most of the time, and most people are sheep as well, so they jump on the bandwagon. And because Islam people feel is a threat to their way of life, because it kind of challenges all the things that make them happy, like alcohol, drugs, gambling, and all this kind of stuff. Islam is kind of like the big enemy for them, so any excuse to distance themselves from Islam, I feel they will use. And this, I mean, it's this most ridiculous argument that they use, to be honest. As my brother Mohammed said, it doesn't refute Islam. It just basically, what they tried to say is, oh, well, you know, he's supposed to be a example for all time and this, that, the other. And you're like, look, back in his time, it wasn't an issue. For 1900 years, it wasn't an issue. It's never been an issue. He didn't do anything wrong. Just because now, because of the age of 16 and all this business. But for me, even that's hypocrisy, because a 16-year-old's a child. In the UK, a 16-year-old is a child, so you can legally have sex with a child. It's just got to be a particular age, which I think is pure hypocrisy.
3 persons are not 3 gods, but the 3 persons are 3 gods. Why do we say the 3 persons are 3 gods? Because Christians will admit, if we ask them, is the Father 100% God? They will say yes. If we say, is the Son 100% God? They will say yes. If we say, is the Holy Spirit 100% God? They will say yes. If we ask them, is the Father the Son? They will say no. If we ask them, is the Son the Holy Spirit? They will say no. But then they will say, but the 3 are God. We're sorry, but using human rationality and logic, you're failing over here. These are 3 gods, not 3 persons. Now, when it comes to Judaism, what kind of polytheism or what kind of problematic things do they have? We say first, in their understanding of God, saying that God rests, or that the attributes of God are practically meaningless. God being knowledgeable doesn't actually mean God is knowledgeable. Knowledge is not an actual attribute the way we understand it. Or try to say that God was defeated by Jacob, or try to say that he remembers by a rainbow after forgetting his covenant with man. All of these deficiencies that they attribute to God, number one. And number two is that they actually make the rabbis as divine beings. In what instance? In the fact that they allow the rabbis to change the commands of God. Meaning that a rabbi can say, for example, you don't need to pray 3 prayers. You can pray 4, you can pray 3. They can abrogate teachings of God. They can change. They can tell them what is permissible and what is impermissible. And to us, the one who legislates is the Creator. The one who is the ultimate legislator when it comes to religious beliefs is the Creator. And if you give that to any other human being, this is a form of associating by giving the attributes of God to something other than God. So we'll say that is a problem with Judaism. There's many other issues. The main issue is that the scripture of both Christians and Jews is not preserved. It's been corrupted. It's been changed. Has been shown. The earliest you have written from the Old Testament is 2,000 years after Moses, written by unknown people, rejected by the Jews. It's called the Dead Sea Scrolls. The earliest full manuscript you have of the New Testament is 400 years nearly, called the Sinaiticus, written by unknown people. You have no idea who wrote this. Manuscripts have, all of these differences. That's why you read different Bibles and have different verses. Some verses here, some other Bibles will remove the verses.
It's all
some will keep the verses because they rely on different manuscripts.
No, it's
so the scripture is not preserved. The core beliefs are problematic. There is no absolute monotheism, even though they do pretend as if there is absolute monotheism in their tradition. So what makes Islam unique is that it's a preserved religion, coherent, consistent in its rationality, in its positions, and its creed. and that it is from the creator, has evidences to establish it is from the creator. So I would say
So
just
we're
briefly
just
that
responding
separates Islam
to
from
the
the other
Twitter
religions.
Spaces questions.
Thank you, Mohammed. I jumped ahead there slightly. I do apologise. I want to come back to the. I want to dispel all these myths that are definitely relevant to the UK. The Tommy Robinsons of this world, the Nigel Farages, all these wrong uns, in my opinion, would say that one of the popular ones that they use is that there is Muslims want to jihad the West and want to kill all the infidels, and we're all targets basically. That's one of the popular things that people like that say. Hamza, what would your response to that be?
What, the Muslims want to kill everyone?
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that, but I'm just saying that the far right, that's one of their popular things that they say towards Muslims. You all want to jihad us all.
I'll be honest, I've not heard this for a long time.
Before even answering that, first, could you do me a favour and explain to the audience what jihad actually means, please?
Jihad, fighting in the cause of Allah. So fighting for the sake of Allah. So there's one understanding. Another understanding is fighting against your desires and such. But it's fighting. Well, look, Islam's not a pacifist religion. Let's get one thing straight. Yeah, you slap our face, we break your nose, kind of thing. It's not a case of slap our cheek, we give you the other one. So let's not get things twisted. We don't ever we're not walking around here like we're Buddhist monks at the end of the day. But no one's actively attacking anyone in that sense. Or I've not heard anyone make these threats. I've not even heard the far right use this argument for a long time. Seriously.
Okay. One of the other things that they say is that Muslims can't assimilate in Western society. Would you like to take that one, Hamza?
Remind me who the London mayor is.
Sadiq Khan.
Is he Muslim?
As far as I'm aware, he is, yes.
That sounds like assimilation to me. But the thing is, there's a difference between assimilate. You don't have to assimilate. You can integrate, but you don't have to assimilate. So if you integrate, it means you can work alongside people, even if they've got different values, different belief systems. Assimilate means you become like them. Well, we're never going to do that. Us Muslims, we're not interested in the idea that, because in England everybody can drink alcohol and have free sex outside of marriage, then that's what we should be doing. It's ridiculous to even say that. And the irony is this: I never heard anyone make this accusation against Irish travellers or against the Jewish communities in North London who ghettoized themselves. I never hear this. It's always Muslims that we're the ones who are not integrated. And here's the thing: the people usually saying that are people who are probably living in towns where there are no Muslims. Usually. I mean, if you there's no way can anyone living in London say Muslims are not integrating. The bus drivers, train drivers, doctors, whatever, they're everywhere. Restaurants, wherever you go, taxi, Uber. I mean, what does it even mean? This idea that they're not integrating. I mean, British values. What is British values? What is actual British values? I don't even know what they are. I'm British. I still don't know what they are. What is this thing that we're supposed to be assimilating? Integrating is not an issue. Assimilating is the issue.
I think at the minute, British values are, from my perspective, being British man, I think our British values are in the gutter right now. They're in the mud.
What are British values? What are they?
I mean, I couldn't really answer that myself at the minute, because British values right now are slaughtering Palestinians every single day. I was that for British values. British values right now are complicit in genocide. So me as a Brit of 41 years, I don't even know what British values are right now, because what I thought British values meant to stand for couldn't be further from the truth. Because even if you go back look at our ancestors and what they did, the British Empire, look at them British values.
That's the thing. What is British values? Colonialism?
It's a great question,
colonialism? Slavery? What do you want to do?
A lot of people in the UK are ignorant, and they don't look at their own history. They don't look at the slaughter and the oppression and misery that this country has caused to millions of people across the world.
Yes, but one thing I will say about British values, sorry to interrupt you, the Muslims and grooming gangs and all that. That's British values.
I want to speak on that in a minute.
All right, go on.
Yeah, we're gonna touch on that in a minute.
All right, go on then.
But yeah, everyone's very quick. The reason I defend Muslims so much is because just from a much grander scale. I mentioned this to people before. In my high school years, I was bullied badly, It's trauma that's carried through my life. Right, I'm all right now, but it has. But it stuck with me forever. So like when I see someone getting bullied now, I jump to their defense. And in a much grander scale, I see Muslims getting blamed for just about everything in the UK. They blame. They can't. They're just, if something happens in the UK, that's probably the first or second person that gets labelled comes out of their mouth is they'll blame the Muslims, or it's the Muslims' fault. I guarantee you, it's the first or second thing that comes out of their mouth. It was the Muslims. It's their fault. They can't, and that's why I defend them so much, because it's bullshit. Like, I'm not saying that all Muslims are flawless, perfect people, but they're not all bad people neither. As I said this on many spaces, like we've all got amongst us rapists, murderers, burglars, drug dealers, car robbers, bank. Like we've all got them, and they live amongst us. Not just Muslims. Like we all have them. Christians have them. Atheists have them. Sikh. Like we've all got them. Yet when it comes to the Muslims, it's only highlighted and leveled against them. And everyone do you know how many paedophiles there are in the UK that are not Muslim and they're white Christian people? They literally have teams that go up and down the UK every day catching these people. But no one wants to talk about that. They're very quick to mention, again, I'm glad you mentioned that, Hamza, the grooming gangs. Right, that's one of the popular ones, especially when that incident happened recently in Newport, I think it was. That was doing the rounds again. But Hamza, I know you've personally spoke on this, so would you like to explain to the audience your take on the Rotherham grooming gangs, please?
Oh yeah, okay. So my take on it's a very, very simple one. Okay. I've heard this apparently as a Muslim problem. This is an Islamic problem. And this is one thing that exposes our mate Tommy as well. And I'll explain why. Because in one breath, Tommy will say, it's not Muslims I have a problem with. I grew up in Luton. Some of my best mates were Muslims. It's the ideology of Islam. So this is Tommy Robinson's mantra. No issue with the Muslims. It's Islam, the political ideology of Islam, he has an issue with. So let's just understand that's his position. So we'll park that a second. Okay. So when people speak to me about grooming gangs, I ask them very, very simply, which teachings of Islam do you believe encourages the grooming of girls? Yeah. Which teaching? Which teaching of Islam encourages plying young girls with alcohol and drugs and then passing them around for free sex? Where is Islam allow this, permit this, condone this, make an exception for this? It doesn't at all. So whoever is perpetuating these kind of actions are not acting in accordance with Islam. They're actually acting in accordance against Islam. Okay, now here's where I bring my mate Tommy back up again. So now here, Islam isn't the problem, Muslims are. So Tommy now, when he goes after the grooming gangs, he's not going after Islam, he's going after Muslims. So this highlights Tommy doesn't just have a problem with Islam, he has a problem with Muslims, full stop. Anyway, so going back to the point. Now, what I always say is it's only because these girls lived in a society that permitted boyfriends and all of these things that these groomers could hide in plain sight. Yeah, because there's an accusation that why is it only white girls? Why is it only white girls? Why are they not raping their own women? Why are they not grooming their own girls? And the reason is a very simple one. We treat our daughters like princesses. We do. We care about where they are. We care about who they're with. We don't allow them to have boyfriends and all of this stuff. Okay. So when predators prey, they prey on the weak and the vulnerable. Yeah, they don't prey on the one who's surrounded by people who care about them. They prey on those people who are vulnerable, who nobody cares about. And if we look at the majority of the cases in Rotherham, they were girls in care. And they made this big number. Is it 1,400 girls? 1,400 girls were groomed. Now, I asked the question, how does that happen in England with British values, right? How does that happen? 1,400 girls get neglected by those who are supposed to love them and are left to be vulnerable and preyed upon by the wolves. How does this happen? That should be the screaming question. Who was supposed to be looking after these girls? Not the fact that some predators preyed on them, because that's what predators do. And here's the other thing. In Islam, under Sharia, these guys would have been gone. They would have been executed. Over. Okay, so the idea that Islam can condone something that doesn't allow alcohol, doesn't allow free sex, and would execute the perpetrators is no way, shape, or form you can pin grooming gangs on Islam. Now, Muslims, That's a different story. Someone claiming to come from a Muslim heritage, okay. But there are people who are Christians who come from a Christian heritage. There are people who are Hindus and Sikhs and such who commit the same kind of crimes. But the thing is, you see, when anyone ever commits a crime, even an act of terrorism, if they're not Muslim, we don't ask their religion. We don't say, "Oh, was he? Oh, he was a Jewish boy. Oh, he was a Christian." Have you ever heard, Timmy? The only one we probably know about is Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma bomber. He was a hardcore Christian. Anders Breivik in Norway, I don't know what his religion was. Anyone who commits a crime, unless they're Muslim, we don't know their religion. It's irrelevant. So this is the problem. You're trying to pin a crime on a religion, which you can't do, because every single facet of that crime is prohibited by Islam and will be punished severely by Islam. So that's my take on grooming gangs.
Thank you, Hamza. Mohammed, would you like to give your perspective on that?
To be honest, no, not really. Hamza said is sufficient. It's more than enough. The game that Tommy plays, he says, my issues with Islam, not with the Muslims. And then he ends up talking about Muslims, presenting one single text from the Islam. Well, how does it support accusation he's making? Just watch any podcast he's done. He would say, "Oh, my issue is with Islam, not Muslims. Islam is a problem. I have Muslim friends," and he presents nothing from the Islamic text. So there isn't really anything to refute when it comes to Tommy. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you. I want to go to one of the other tropes, the common tropes that is leveled against Muslims. And it's that you abuse your women. Women have no rights. Women are second-class citizens. They're oppressed by their husbands. One of the things I literally saw Tommy say, one of the things was they're running away from the Middle East because they're running away from their husbands. And basically, women in Islam do not have a leg to stand on. Again, I don't agree with any of that. I've spoken to Muslim women myself, and they give a very different perspective. The polar opposite, to be fair. I speak to Muslims on a daily basis on not my spaces, because I don't do them every day, but there's a lad called Mr. Bean, and we have Muslim women on all the time, and we've had this conversation before, and they completely refute these claims. But from your own perspective, Mohammed, what does it mean to be a Muslim for women, and the accusations that are leveled against the sort of men in Muslim society?
There's this saying, every accusation is a confession. It's not a true saying all the time, but in this case, it is absolutely a true thing. Muslim women are running away from, being oppressed to the land of oppression. that would be the funniest thing I'd hear in my life. There isn't a say. I don't believe, like, this day and age, the over 95% of girls probably have some sort of trauma of being abused by their quote unquote ex-boyfriends. The reality of trauma exists in the Western world today. You have the UN, by the way. They have a study. People can go and check and read if they like. It's called "Women Abused Everywhere, Every Day." This is literally the name of the study, and they talk about how women are abused. How 60%, 70% women have been abused when they were children, and then psychologically abused, have been abused by a pornographic material being shown. All of this stuff, and this is the ones. This was a massive survey, by the way, that they conducted, the UN conducted, and it talks just about the Europe and the USA. If you want to look at what happens in England when England loses a game,
I was about to say that.
Yeah, and you go and watch what these guys are doing to their women and their wives. Like, we see women getting beaten by the street sometimes here in London all the time. You see them walk in and you see their quote unquote boyfriends beating them up, and nobody bats an eye. You're not going to see this in an Islamic society. It can never happen. You're not going to see it like this, and then people will watch and do nothing. It doesn't happen in Muslim societies. That's not. And I've lived for years and years in Muslim societies. Never in my life I've seen anything like this. But here in the West, it happens. And in fact, if you help her, she'll say, "That's none of your business. This is my boyfriend." You probably are the one who's going to get in trouble by intervening in that fight that's taking place. This was always an abnormal thing for me to see. So for someone to talk about that, I'll let Hamza come on later to talk about all the English beautiful abuse. But when it comes to Islam, we'll just be very, very simple. Prophet ﷺ said not to hit the women. He said, "Do not hit the women servants of Allah." That's clear of the Prophet ﷺ being commanded. The Prophet ﷺ forbade hitting the face. The Prophet ﷺ forbade any abusive hitting that would break a bone or leave a mark or do any of that. That is prohibited in Islam. Now, I would like a similar text in Christianity or Judaism. I would love to see it. I don't believe it exists. Nothing in none of these traditions would tell you that you're not able to do that per se. Now, people can come later and present it and show us where is this explicit text that prohibits you from doing that. So that exists in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, who has daughters and takes care of them, there would be a veil for him from hellfire. A man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, who should I love the most and be good to the most after you? He said, your mother. He said, then who? He said, your mother. He said, then who? He said, your mother again. The woman as a wife, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the best of you is the best to their wives. And I'm the best person to my wife. Aisha, she spoke about the Prophet. She said he never hit any of his women. Now, he's the example for us on how to treat our women, how to treat our wives. There's no such idea of second-class citizen. In fact, second-class citizen is what happens in the Western civilization. We have a woman working full-time and you're still expecting her to pay the bills with you and clean your house and cook your food. That doesn't exist in Islam. In Islam, the woman is being provided for all the time. If she's a mother, she's being provided for. If she's a wife, she's being provided for. If she's a daughter, she's being provided for. She doesn't need to lift a finger or work. Someone will provide for her and take care of her and look after her. Now, the abuse is to use these women as bodies, as physical beings, use them and jump to the next one, next one, and next one. That is the prime oppression and abuse, and that's what happens in the West on a daily basis. So what Islam says is the exact opposite of that. And again, we're talking about the teachings of Islam here. So are there bad Muslims? Yes. Are there people who do evil? 100%. We're not here to defend people. We're here to talk about the Islamic text and say that there is bad apples in every religion.
Can I just add something about, because one thing they beat us up about is the women of Saudi. Oh, they can't drive, right? I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to get into trouble for saying this, but I don't mind saying it, right? Most people who say this have never been to Saudi. They've just never been, right? Some of the strongest women in the world I've ever seen are Saudi women. They are tough women, first thing. Second thing, the way they strut around, cross roads, just put their hand out. They don't queue. It's mind-boggling. And when I hear they can't drive, I'm not surprised, because they would oppress the men on them roads. They would just drive as they like, and no one could question or bat an eyelid at them. Yeah, serious. I'm not joking. Yeah. So, you know, many people say this to me. Oh, in Muslim country. I said, listen, have you been to a Muslim country? Have you spoken to Muslim women? I think the most abused men in the world are Egyptian men, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So the idea of apparently Muslim women are some kind of subservient, then you've not met Muslim women, because subhanallah, they're strongest women you're going to come across. They know their rights, they know their position, they know their entitlement. Subhanallah. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to speak on the Arab women and such.
Again, I'm not saying that. What the thing I'm sort of starting to understand from your two perspectives is there's nothing wrong with Islam per se as a religion. It's the people that are either not following it to the letter of the law, or to the letter of the Prophet, or they're putting their own interpretations on it, or they've got one foot in, one foot out. They're not loyal to the religion. And that, again, that's an individual problem. That's not a religious problem. That's an individual. And again, I'm not saying that there's not Muslims out there that don't abuse their wives. I'm sure they do, sadly, because that there are quote unquote men amongst us all that are just arseholes, right? Just to one for a better phrase, they're just arseholes. I'm sure there's Muslims that might drink or might take drugs or might do this and might do that. But that's to blame a whole religion, or they'll blame the 2 billion Muslims for the actions of a few, and it's always leveled against Muslims. They don't blame Christian. They don't blame the whole Christian faith or the whole Jewish faith or whatever religion it pertains to be. But when it comes to Muslims, it's one bad egg spoils the entire basket. That's the mindset of people, especially in the West, and I think it's wrong. I do think it's wrong. I feel like whenever we're talking about anyone's religion, again, for those that don't know me, I'm not religious. I'm not religious at all. But I'm not equal. If not more importantly, I'm not ignorant. I used to be ignorant in my younger years, but I'm not anymore. I've matured. I've grown up, and I've realised my mindset that I used to have is not the way to be. And I respect all people that are religious. Just because I'm not religious does not mean I get to hate on people just for the sake of I'm not a religious. It's wrong. It's the wrong mindset, because we all have to be able to coexist together. Ultimately, looking at in the West now, it's a diverse culture. with all different creeds, colours, religions, and ethnicities that live live together. And if you can't coexist with each other, that's where division happens. And then from division, you get hatred, and then and it spirals out of control. And I think that's what a lot of this comes down to, is it's just a lack of education. Like, why don't people just speak to people and have a conversation? Talk to Muslims, talk to Jews, talk to Christians, and speak to them on an individual basis, and get, because if you listen to mainstream media, the mainstream media is out to, there's a vendetta against Islam. Absolutely. There's a vendetta against Muslims, in my opinion, from what I see, right?
Do you want me to talk, or do you
The
want to let
mainstream
him
media
talk?
drip feed you poison, and it gets
Talking
into
to his
subconscious,
audience now.
and you just start hating on people for no reason. Just utter ignorance. Like, if you took all the Muslims away from our society in the UK, our economy would collapse overnight. The economy would collapse. All your taxi drivers, your bus drivers, your surgeons, your doctors, your nursery workers, electric. I mean, the list is endless. The list is endless. If you as they like to say, they love saying, deport them all, deport them all. That's what Tommy Robinson loves to get them all out. But if you did that tomorrow, if we deported every Muslim back to the Middle East or wherever they came from, tomorrow morning, the country would collapse instantly. It would just collapse. Everything would grind to a halt. And by the way, to be fair, a lot of Muslims that are in the UK were born here. They were literally born here because their mothers and fathers or their grandparents came over from here. And again, people like to cite history, but they won't talk about the amount of Muslims that gave their lives for us in World War II. They won't mention that. I think it was 2 million Muslims died in World War II for our freedoms today. They won't talk about that. They don't talk about anything good that comes from Muslims. It's always bad, negative energy towards Muslims, and I do not understand it. Just because they have a different culture, a different way of life. I don't agree with everything about Islam. There's some things I don't agree with, but again, that doesn't mean I get to hate on people, because there's some things in Islam that I personally don't agree with.
What don't you agree with?
Well, I love bacon for a start. I'm never going to give up bacon. I love
Don't worry,
pork.
turkey bacon replaces that nicely without eating a nasty pig. What else don't you agree with?
Alcohol. Again, I've mentioned this to alcohol.
Yeah, you don't need it.
I do.
You don't. You might have an addiction or something, but you don't need it.
I'm going to mention a point now that I actually don't agree with as a point in Islam, is that I talked to you about this the other day, Hamza. That if a man or the husband wants to divorce, he has to say tanak 3 times, but the same right is not given to the women.
I explained to you that, didn't I?
I did, but I still didn't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
You disagree. It doesn't matter. Look. I'll say it again, what I said to you. All right. So the talaq, it's not like instant. I mean, Muhammad Ali can back me up on this. It's not like you do it in the night and that's it. You give talaq, and then you give time, then you give another talaq, and then the third one is final. And that can happen over a long period of time. It's not necessarily a night thing. If you gave women the rights of talaq, because I heard a TikTok the other day, and I've asked women about this. Is this true? Women tell you how they feel, not what they mean. They say what they feel, not what they mean. So I truly believe if women had the right of talaq, they'd be divorcing men over nothing. I really do. I think there's a reason, there's a wisdom behind the idea they don't have that power personally, because of their emotional state. They have their periods where their moods and their hormones all change, and then they're not quite that person the week before, the week on, and the week after. I mean, you can't dispute the idea that women change when they're on their period. And and imagine on the week they're on their period, they have the power of talaq. And it's just not happening, mate. So whether you agree with or disagree with it, you can't disagree with the psychology of women. They are very emotional, much more than men. 2, they do have periods, they have pregnancy, they have menopause, which all changes their state of being, and also changes their state of mind. Yeah, and they may say things in that time. They may get postnatal depression. There's so many things that they could end the marriage on a whim and then regret it afterwards, because they didn't say what they meant. They said what they felt at that time. So alhamdulillah, Allah's protected them from that. Whether you disagree with the psychology of women, you could take that up with women, but you can't dispute what I've said.
So I mean, I would dispute again. I have to push back.
Okay, dude, push back.
Before you push back, Johnny, if you'd allow me, just add a very small point.
Go on.
Anyways, look, we have a real life example of what Hamza is saying, and that real life example of what Hamza is saying is already the Western world. The Western world, the women have the power to divorce. How does that work out for the Western world? Let's have a look. You look at America, for example, or you look at the UK. In America, you have 50% divorce rate. You have 80 to 90% of the people divorcing are women. if you want to have a society where you do allow your other kind of ideology, which is what you're saying, is that you give the same exact right when it comes to divorce to the woman as you do to the man.
You know, women, you know,
That
I'm
is the
right in
result that
that.
you're going to end up having in that
Exactly
society. You're
what
going
I
to end up
said.
having a society that doesn't have a marriage, where women with divorce, especially when they're given all of these incentives to divorce, is that they're going to get alimony, they're going to get woman, they're going to get money, they're going to have 50% of the man's work. So you're going to have a society where you don't have families. You have marriage rates plummeting. You have families being destroyed. You don't have a society. So in Islam, I have one question for you first, Johnny. Why would be the reason the divorce want to be taking place between men and women? What is the reason would someone want to divorce, essentially? If a woman wants to divorce, what would be the reason? Give me some reasons.
Maybe a husband maybe have cheated on her. It could
Okay,
be,
her husband cheated on her. In Islam, she has a ground to go and initiate the divorce. It's called talaq al-darr. She will go to a judge, and divorce would be initiated between her and that man. He has no choice in it if she can prove that he did that. Give me another example.
it could be abusing her.
Same thing. She can go to a judge and give evidences that he's abusing her, and he's going to be separated from her. The judge forcefully will separate between the woman and the man.
But as we know, many cases, and this is not just about Islam now, but just like in general, there's many cases of where the partner, be it man or woman, is abused, and yet because it's a lot of it's psychological or being passive aggressive, there's not actually marks on the body to prove that said person has been abused. You won't have the physical evidence to prove that they've been abusing you, but you will have the emotional scars and the psychological trauma because they're doing it from a psychological standpoint. There's many people that get abused that are not physically abused. Do you get what I mean?
Sure. But yeah, what we cannot do is account for things that do not have an evidence base. Islam is a religion that is evidence based, meaning that anyone can go claim anything. Like I can go and claim my wife, have and say, oh, this wife is a psychopath, is a killer, murderer that killed 200 people. Anyone can claim anything. Anyone can make any accusation. Psychological, by the way, abuse and trauma is just a Western thing that doesn't have a definition. When is it psychological abuse? When is it trauma? You have all of these men. You've seen the likes of Andrew Tate being put in prison. Oh, the women testify that there is nothing wrong, but they'll say, no, you're actually psychologically abusing her. She just doesn't know she's abused. There's no parameters for these things that you're mentioning, Johnny. Islam is an evidence-based religion. Now, that can happen between the wife and the husband, or the husband and the wife. A wife can be abusing a man psychologically, doesn't know. He doesn't divorce her because he doesn't know that he's being psychologically abused. But is it a possibility that this will take place? Yes, it's a possibility that this will take place. That's a hypothetical situation. It can happen either way. When we talk about realities now, right? Again, and we're not talking about individual cases. When we talk about realities, if you have reasons where a woman is being harmed in a specific way, as we said, like being abused, physically being abused, being hit, or other reasons that you mentioned, the woman can separate from the man without the approval of the man. The man doesn't need to say or do anything. So that's not really something you have an issue with, because she does have the power to go to a judge and separate herself from that man if he's doing that under Islamic law.
Correct me if I'm
wrong. Islam doesn't say.
Mohammed, sorry to interrupt you. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mohammed. But khulla, even the woman can ask for khulla. She can say to her husband, "Release me, give me khulla," and you don't need. You only need to go to the judge if the husband's refusing, isn't it? But the man can just give khulla.
Yeah, so the khula is a different kind of situation. But the khula, there's a woman at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. She married. There was a marriage between her and one of the companions, and then what ended up happening is that the woman was not feeling physically attracted to him. She didn't feel an attraction to him. She felt she's not going to give one of her rights to the husband, which is obviously intimacy. And based on that, she went to the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, "I don't have any issues with him. He's a good man. He has all the good manners and morals, but I'm not attracted to him." So the Prophet ﷺ said to her to give him his money back.
Yes.
What he gave to her, the marital gift, and separation happened. So this is a situation like this, in which a woman, for instance, let's say that she knows she's not going to fulfill one of the rights of the husband, then she can have an agreement. So khula can have an agreement with the husband, and that she gives him back his money or a specific amount of the money, etc. And then separation can happen. And the Prophet ﷺ said to the companion, divorce her. Now, there are scholars who believe that he doesn't have a choice in it. There are scholars who believe that he does have a choice, to be completely fair when it comes to the khula. But when it comes to cases of actual harm and damage, he will be forced to separate. These are, I believe, are the important cases.
Can I just
in
add
which,
one more thing?
because if she,
sorry.
yeah, of course.
No, continue.
No,
I
of
just want
course.
to add something at the end. Go on.
Yeah. So in the end, we're saying is this: if it's an issue of abuse, if it's an issue of living in a bad marriage where the husband is doing something bad, no problem. But marriage is not a game, and people in the West need to understand that you're building a family. You're building a family. Going outside that agreement should not be an easy thing. Anyways, if you look at a lot of the Christians or those who at least follow the Bible, they will say to you that there's no even divorce for women. And most of the people who make this accusation against Islam are actually Christians. And in their own book, Jesus is saying in Matthew that you cannot separate except if it's adultery or something like that. And the woman cannot get married again, even after that.
Yeah.
So I don't see how people are coming with any accusation. We're saying marriage is an important thing. It's a family structure. It maintains the society. If there is any physical harm and there's evidence that is, or psychological harm, whatever harm, there's evidence that is being done to that woman is able to go to a judge and separate herself. So it's a very, very simple case in Islam. Oh, go ahead, Hamza.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something because I wanted to address this balance again and highlight again. Just highlight what one of my commenters said. The sister, she goes, "I'm a banshee on my period, so yeah, no, I don't want to make any life-changing decisions while I'm hormonal." But anyway, so let me tell you the difference as well between talaq and khulla. So with talaq, if a man gives a woman talaq, divorces her, he cannot remarry her unless she gets married again. And she then divorces, and then only then is he allowed to marry her again. So you can imagine now that the man is thinking that if I divorce her, she's gone. She's gone, and I can't get her back unless she's married somebody else, right? Now with khulla, if a woman asks for khulla and the man gives khulla, and later on the woman wants to remarry, she's made a mistake, they can get remarried without the need of going through the idea of her having to get remarried again and such and such and such. So even the khulla is allowing for the emotional state. The fact that, okay, if you make an error, don't worry, you can reconcile. Whereas with talaq, once you've done the third talaq, there's no going back. So can you imagine that a man has got to think in his mind, if I give her this final talaq, I can't get her back. So this is another addressing of the balance, if you like.
Can you think of any other sort of popular? Not popular sounds like a good thing, but common allegations that are leveled against Muslims before we sort of move on to the next topic. Before we leave this behind, Mohammed or Hamza, can you think of any other ones that need to be sort of quashed?
I know. I just wanted to maybe Hamza has, but I just wanted to make a very brief comment about what you said. I found it interesting that when Hamza or when you were mentioning things you disagree with when it comes to Islam, it was things like pork or alcohol. I found that very, very interesting. I'll tell you why, because that's a very common thing actually, and I do face that a lot with many people who have, let's say, a barrier or a reason why they're not accepting Islam. And what we say to the people is this: if someone else, or to you, or to anyone who might have this idea in their mind, is that these are not the core foundations of the religion. Islam is about truth, and it's about the afterlife, meaning it's about where you're going to end up in your eternal life. It's not like a choice that I make depending on like what I want to wear today. I want to wear a red suit. Yeah, I want to wear a red suit. I want to wear a black one. I want a blue one. It's not really that. It's about, is this true from the Creator or not? And if I have some weakness in something, whether that be alcohol, whether that be pork, or whatever it is, in the end, that does not disqualify the person from being a Muslim. There are Muslims who drink. They are sinning, but they do it. There are Muslims who eat pork. They are sinning. Very rare, by the way, because it's not beneficial for them. And even probably if I were to ask you, Johnny, is drinking good for you or good for society? You probably say no. If I were to ask you, is pork really a great thing from a health perspective? You're probably going to say no. So in the end, these teachings that Islam teaches are actually things which are in the end harmful for you. That's why Islam says do not do them. But what I'm trying to tell you is that these things are not foundational. So someone can still be Muslim and have some issues here and there. What matters is the foundations of the religion. It's one Creator worthy of worship, sends prophets and messengers. The Quran is from God. We're supposed to have these good values dealing with our families and society. That is what the person needs to think about, rather than to think about, okay, what can I eat today? What can I eat? Because people think about Islam from a restriction type of way. Don't think about Islam like that way. That is going to restrict me from eating this, from doing. It's not about that. Islam is telling you that which is guidance for you, which is beneficial for you. You might struggle with something. Every Muslim has a sin. Every Muslim has some sort of sin. Nobody is perfect. If anyone tells you they're perfect, they're lying, and that is why they're not perfect, right? So it's a very simple thing. If Islam makes sense to you, then I think you should consider it from that aspect and forget about these basic things. Because in the end, where do you get right or wrong from anyways? Without God, you just make it up as you go. You know, your community tells you this is okay, this is not okay. Your parents tell you, but that can be right or wrong. And if you're different communities and societies, will tell you different things. So the one who knows the best about us, the one who knows what is beneficial and harmful for us is the Creator. I think that's what you need to think about.
Thank you. I've just remembered one myself. One of the things that I'd like to talk about.
Well, these were your objections against Islam, my friend.
My objections.
Yeah. You said pork, you said alcohol, and you said women don't have talaq. You were the one who was bringing your objections against Islam.
I learned of talaq about 3 weeks ago.
No. What I mean is, you was bringing us all your objections against Islam that you don't agree with. So you didn't agree with us not allowed to eat pig. You didn't agree with us prohibiting drinking alcohol. No.
They're personal.
Why'd you disagree with prevention of drinking alcohol? Why'd you disagree?
Because I think used correctly, alcohol. I've had many good times. I don't know. I've had some bad times, but I've had many good times, good weekends, getting pissed with my mates, and great memories that I wouldn't swap for anyone.
Right. So it's about you. Not
just me, but especially.
No, it is. You said it's about you and how you feel and how it makes you feel and the memories you have.
So my social circles that I grew up in, everyone that I've been around.
So have I.
Not just me.
So have I. I've worked in Falaraki, mate. Yeah, alcohol is poison. Yeah, you might have a good time one time. Other people are doing other things with alcohol. What I'm asking you is, we talk about teachings of Islam. You said you disagree with teachings of Islam, and one of your disagreements was alcohol. And I'm trying. Why are you arguing for this poison? Now, if you're saying I don't want to be a Muslim because I don't want to give up alcohol, this is one thing. But to say this is a problem with Islam that it prohibits alcohol, it doesn't make any sense, mate.
That's just from my standpoint. There's just like I say, it's parts of Islam that I personally don't agree with it, and I don't agree with it. I feel like if an adult wants to drink alcohol, they should be allowed to.
Johnny, let me just ask you a question. Do you believe alcohol is harmful or beneficial for a person and society?
I think if it's abused, then yes, it's definitely harmful.
No, I'm saying abused or not. I'm saying even if a little bit of alcohol. It's about allowing the idea of alcohol, right? I'm just going to use your own words. If an adult wants to drink alcohol, they should be able to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm saying this idea. If an adult wants to drink alcohol, they should be able to drink alcohol. Is that a good thing for the individual and society?
We're not going to allow this.
Think about it before you give your answer.
I don't see it as a bad thing. I don't.
Okay, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it's a bad thing, and then you can tell me whether what I'm saying makes sense or not. First, when it comes to drinking any amount of alcohol, there's studies that are showing this clearly. Even the Daily Mail published one like a couple of years ago about how 0.00% of alcohol is good for you. No amount of alcohol is good for you. It's all bad for your kidney, bad for your skin, cancerous, gives you kidney failure, all of that. Any amount of alcohol, any amount, we're saying 0.00, saying anything, none of it is beneficial for you as a human being. We're talking from an individualistic perspective now. None of it is beneficial for you. To add on top of that, when you say, some people say, okay, but I drink moderately. We just established this idea that no alcohol is good for you.
No, he needs to get it.
And if we say, okay, you drink moderately, how does an alcoholic become an alcoholic? Nobody starts drinking alcohol by chugging 10 bottles from the first day. Nobody does that. Everyone starts to drink, quote unquote, moderately. What ends up happening, you come across a bad experience in life, something happens, you drink more. And now tolerance of alcohol is a drug. You need more every time in order for you to get into that intoxicated state. So you drink more and more and more because you're feeling bad, you want to forget, and then you wake up the next day hangover, and the problem is still there. Nothing happened really, but you just try to remove it by drinking more and more and destroying your body. So people become alcoholic by starting by drinking moderately. So to say allow people to drink moderately does not solve the situation, because that's how every alcoholic begins and starts. And alcohol is a drug, and the drug will only intoxicate you if you always drink more and more and more. So from an individual point of view, alcohol is not good for you because it will get you into that intoxicated state that will give you the cancerous cells that will destroy your body and destroy you as a human being, your whole entire life. Now, how does that extend to society as well? Now, we're not talking about just people because it deals with society. How does it extend to the society? It extends to the society. Then this abuse that we're talking about, when England loses a football match, or people beating each other in the streets because they're drunk. You're beating their wives because they're drunk. People drinking and driving, hitting, killing other people in the roads. You have the UK, 60-70% of the knife crime happening, according to Metropolitan Police, people who are under influence, some sort of drug, alcohol or any other drugs that makes them intoxicated, and they end up stabbing someone.
Grooming gangs.
That's why
Grooming gangs. Those girls
grooming
needed alcohol
yeah,
to be
yeah.
groomed.
Yeah, so whichever way you look at it, alcohol is a devilish thing. Alcohol is something that is used as an instrument to take people out of their psychological control state into a state in which they are doing
It's a different
things
Adam.
that they're not really realizing they're doing. And it harms them first, as we said, absolutely, and then harms the society. Now, my question to you, Johnny, is anything from what I said not true?
No, I suppose it's not true. But again, I would push back and say that most people don't become alcoholics. Yes, there's a percentage of people that go beyond the pale and end up becoming alcoholics, and I agree with that standpoint. But like, for example, my dad's now 60. I think that's 62. He's been drinking all his life. He's never been anywhere near becoming alcoholic. Same with myself. Like, I don't even drink that much. I drink in moderation. So I don't.
Johnny,
I don't
you're
think
doing
anybody...
it again, mate. You're just
What?
thinking about yourself.
No, not just me. Not.
You are.
No,
Wait. We're talking about society.
I am talking about society.
Well, no, society tells you, go to look at all the homeless people. They're all drinking, mate.
Yeah, but again, that's a small percentage compared to the whole population.
No, but what? Look. It's like my brother said. 70% of people in prison were under the influence of alcohol or drugs when they committed their crimes. Yeah. You look at the grooming gang girls. Alcohol was used as a tool to groom them. Without alcohol, you couldn't groom them. You couldn't get them into a different state of mind. Alcohol loosens the inhibitions. Yeah. I've worked in Falaraki. I've seen what alcohol does to people. Okay. You might have gone to your local, had a few pints and enjoyed it, and watched the football, and go to have a beer. Yeah, I've done that as well. But we're not talking about a personal level. This is what I think you have to detach from. We're talking about in a society. Yeah. And I'll go further than this. I'll say gambling is a poison. I'll say sexual immorality is a poison. I'll say dealing in interest, usury is a poison. These are all poisons which Islam prohibits. But in your country, in our country, should I say, these things are all encouraged and condoned and promoted. Now, these things are destroying every society of the world, every society. So what you got to do, I mean, this is not me just attacking you personally, Johnny, but I just need to detach.
Okay, it's okay.
I got to detach you here because we're not here to defend. Does Johnny want to be a Muslim? Right? Why does Johnny not want to be a Muslim? Yeah, no. You said these are issues you have with Islam. So we're presenting a medicine for the poisons that are in these societies, crushing these societies. I guarantee you, go to any homeless person on the streets and any prostitute, I'll say, but any prostitute, I'll even go that far, and ask them, did alcohol, drugs, gambling, interest in any of these things play a part in why you're here today? And the answer will be yes. One of those things would have played a part in putting them where they are, whether they were antisocial neighbors because of alcohol abuse and such, and the council kicked them out. And once you've been kicked out by the council, you won't be rehoused because they don't have a duty of care over you because you got yourself evicted because of your antisocial, whether it's that or whatever. And now they're taking their medicine on the streets. There's no way, Johnny, you can stand here and say alcohol is good for a society. You have to concede everything Mohammad Ali just said to you and everything I've just said to you. I agree with you. Alcohol is bad for society. I just like it. That's all you can do. You can't push back. Just concede it. Go to any A&E, anywhere, any town in this country on a Friday and Saturday night. Who's filling up the beds? Drunk people. we got an NHS crisis and we can't have beds on the weekends because drunk people are there. Go to any cell. Go to any prison cell, any local police station. Who's in the cells? Drunk people. Would they be there if they weren't drunk? Of course not. So, I understand that, thinking about, I'd have to give drinking alcohol if I became, I get that. But this isn't about, does Johnny want to be a Muslim? This is about, is Islam beneficial for a society if it prohibits alcohol? And the answer is yes. So, please don't push back on that. You just can't do it.
Look, I partially agree with you. I do. I'm not gonna.
You should completely agree with me. I say it's because I like it. All right. Which part do you disagree with?
You're thinking I'm making this about me, and I'm really not. Like I'm speaking from.
No, I'm not making it about you. That's the thing. I'm making this about Islam. You said you had an issue with Islam because it prohibits alcohol. And so I'm dealing with that. I don't care whether Johnny wants to drink or not. But what I'm concerned about is that your objection against Islam, one of your reasons to be against Islam, one of the things you disagree with Islam about is that it prohibits alcohol. So
So
I'm looking at Islam, not Johnny.
Yeah, so after listening to your perspective and Mohammed's perspective, that has definitely changed my sort of opinion on it, and in terms of like outright rejection. So I understand the reason for it. Yeah, I'm not sort of just dismissing and saying, nah, I'm not saying you're both chatting shit and you've got no merit in what you're saying. There's a lot of merit in what you're saying, so I do understand that. So that has definitely changed my perspective. You know, I can be honest about that.
That's good of you to admit. Well done.
Yeah, no, I'll be, listen, I'm not
Now, what
arrogant.
else do you want
I'm
knocking
like,
out the park? No,
no.
carry. Sorry.
No, listen, I'm not arrogant. I'm a humble guy. If
Alhamdulillah.
I see reason in what someone's saying, I'm not going to just be stubborn and pig-headed because I want to be right. Like
Okay.
sometimes I'm not. We can't always be right, right? And we have to be balanced about this conversation. One of the other things, but we're going to move to the historical part in a second. But one of the other things that I've just remembered that I want to talk about quickly is the way Muslim women are looked at in Western society. And what I mean is like the comments of people like Boris Johnson, you know, calling them post boxers for wearing the niqab or the hijab, right? Again, when I was younger, I had similar mindset. I don't anymore, thank God. I've got away from that. But one of the questions I've got for you, Mohammed, is I like, as far as I'm aware, women in Islam are encouraged to dress modestly. But some people, I put this out on a tweet other day, and actually I got quite a polarized response from Muslim people. Some people were saying it's a command from the Prophet, and others were saying no, it's encouraged. Mohammed, what would your take on this be, please?
Yeah, these things are not subjective. Like, and this is the thing, we shouldn't be taking anyways religious teachings from individuals, right? Lay public. Just like you're not gonna go to, you know, a layman and say, how do I operate on an individual's heart? You know, you're gonna go to a professional doctor, someone who studied for years, can give you a response to that question. Now, the Quran is explicit on that. On chapter 24 of the Quran, for instance, verse 31, anyone can go to that verse and read it. Where Allah says to the Prophet, say to the believing women to do 1, 2, 3.
I'll not. You know why?
Sorry?
I will have classes. You know why? Because you're like somewhere down here 2.26 listeners.
Sorry, I cannot hear you. Who's speaking?
Yo, Johnny, boot. Johnny, boot him.
I've dropped him.
Johnny, boot him.
Sorry for that interruption, Mohammed. Please carry on. He's dropped.
Oh, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so the Quran is explicit on this idea. In chapter 24 of the Quran, verse 31, Allah explicitly say to the believing women to do 1, 2, 3. يغضضن من أبصارهن, to lower their gaze. And Allah says, وَلْيَضْرِبْنَا. And lam there is for command in the Arabic language. Lam al-amr. So this is like as objective as it gets. No one can read this text and say, oh, I think maybe they should. That's an objective command from God. Just like it's an objective command from God not to kill innocent people, just like it's an objective command from God to be good to your mother. All of these are objective commands, just like it's an objective command to pray 5 times a day. All of these are commands in the Quran given to someone. Now, are there people who still don't pray 5 times a day, even though it's an objective command from God? Yes. Are there Muslim women who don't wear the hijab, even though it's an objective command from God? Yes. Does that change the fact that these are objective commands from God? No. So these are objective commands from God. When you say women are dressed modest, that is a very subjective statement. A woman can be wearing a bra and a bikini and say to you, you know what, I'm being very modest. I'm covering my, private parts. That is the epitome of modesty. You have other people in the nude beach, look, they're wearing nothing. So I'm very modest. So that's a very subjective thing. Who determines what is modest and what is immodest? We say the creator who created us, he knows how men and women are. He knows what a man is attracted to in a woman, and he knows what a woman is attracted to in a man. And based on that, the creator gives the command on what is the appropriate type of dress, both for women and men. What needs to be covered, meaning. So if you cover that which needs to be covered in the prescribed way, you can wear whichever garments you want. Quran doesn't say you have to wear this set of garment, but you need to cover these parts in that specific way. That's what the Quran says, or what Islam teaches, is that you need to cover these specific body parts in this specific manner. Other than that, you can wear whichever, you want to wear shorts, you want to wear wherever you want, as long as you cover that specific thing that Islam has commanded you to cover, right? So when it comes to the teachings of the hijab or the niqab or whatever it is, these are Islamic teachings. There are certain things for women to wear that the Creator have prescribed and commanded them to. It is a form of modesty, there is no doubt about that. But most importantly, it's a command from God that knows what is beneficial for that woman and also knows what is beneficial for the society as a whole. So these things are not subjective; they are objective, and they are stipulated in the Quran clearly.
Thank you, Mohammed. I want to go to one of the. I want to try to get the audience involved now. Obviously, we've been going a good hour and 15 minutes. It's just been us three. ASDF, you've had your hand up for quite some time. Do you have a question for Mohammed or Hamza, or do you have your own opinion you'd like to share with everyone that you've heard from any of us?
Oh, thank you, Johnny. Let me first start by thanking everyone for arranging this space, Johnny, you specifically, and for allowing me to speak. I have a question that is sort of an interpretation of the word infidel. First of all, I'm a Muslim. I'm from Egypt. I have 2 girls. And I was, for the longest time I can remember, the meaning of infidel was that's just someone who doesn't believe in God the way, the true God, which is Allah. And if you don't believe in God, you're simply gonna go to hell. And then the events over the past year that started on October 7 last year in Gaza made me take a hard, deep sort of look inside myself and at the society of what it really means to be a kafir, specifically the infidels Surah Al-Kafirun, which I would like Muhammad or Hamza to explain for us and for the audience as well the meaning of it, because it talks about assimilation, it talks about respecting other religions from the perspective of a Muslim. And also my question is, apologies for this sort of all over the place introduction, the first interactions between Iblis and Rabbina subhanahu wa ta'ala, or Allah, where he knows obviously that Allah is the true God. There is no question about it from his perspective. And yet when he's asked to bow in front of Adam, his immediate reaction is complete arrogance of, no, I'm not going to do it. You created me. And that statement alone is like, he knows that this is God, obviously. And he's telling him, you created me from fire, and you created Adam alayhi salam from just the dust. How can you ask me to do this? Which is this the true definition of al-kufr? It's not just that you don't necessarily believe in God because you were not presented with the right information in the right way. And I'll pause here. Thank you.
Who was that question for, Zeke? Was it Mohammed or Hamza?
Whichever would like to go.
Anyone? Either of you?
I'll start, and then I know Mohammed's going to finish this. But I'll start. I mean, that was pure waffle. It really, really was. I didn't even understand what he was banging on about. Infidel. So, for example, the word infidel is a Catholic word. It was a word used by Catholics to coin anybody who wasn't a Catholic. So Muslims were infidels, Orthodox Christians were infidels, Jews were infidels. So it's not a Muslim word. It's not even a Muslim word. Infidel. So that's the first thing I would say. Second thing with regards to Surah Al-Kafirun, basically it's talking about when Allah talks to those who disbelieve, you know, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا عَبَدتُّمْ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. So say to the disbeliever, you believe in what you believe and I will believe what I believe. I'll never worship what you worship, and you'll never worship what I worship. To you, your way, to me, mine. So it's just basically the idea. I mean, it kind of rams home the idea you don't kill them because they don't believe what you do. It's kind of the opposite. It's like saying, okay, fair enough, on your way. Do you know what I'm saying? Good luck. So it's so that verse again, I don't know what he's on about. Then he brought October the 7th into it. No idea why. And anyway, Mohammad Ali, you finish it off, man, because no disrespect, my brother. I mean, that was pure waffle. Go on, Mohammed.
Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to say is, like, hopefully for the people who, if they're going to ask a question, try to keep it concise and to the point, so you can have a productive kind of thing. Because if you produce a question like the one you produced, I'm going to end up having to explain a lot of things, which I'm going to do right now, because I'm not sure exactly what your precise question was, right? So you started with the idea of infidel. Hamza told you it's not an Islamic concept, but the idea kafir or disbeliever or whatever it is, that idea linguistically means someone who hides something, like a farmer would hide a seed.
No,
but from an Islamic point of view,
Johnny
it
who was
means,
waffling.
and that will
It was the
also
guy who asked
tie
the
down to
question.
the last question you're asking about Iblis, so pay attention to that. kafir or disbeliever from a religious point of view, from an Islamic point of view, it means someone who opposes belief. Belief is the 6 articles of faith. Now, if you oppose these 6 articles of faith in any way, whether that be a statement that you say, or an action that you do, or a belief in your heart. So if any of these things is what we consider disbelief, any of these things are an act of kufr, an act of disbelief. If you oppose believing in Allah, believing in the messengers, in books, in any of that, then you are doing an action of disbelief. Right? Now, you mentioned Surah Al-Kafirun, and Surah Al-Kafirun was revealed. We need to know the reason of revelation to understand it. The reason is that these believers of Mecca came to the Prophet ﷺ, and they wanted to do a form of, this idea of, you worship our God for a period of time, we worship your God for a period of time. So this chapter was revealed to refute the idea. We're not going to do this compromise. There's no compromise in Islam. It's not a mumbo jumbo thing. And you come to our church for a few days, you go to your mosque for a few days. There's no such thing. We believe something, and that is the truth. You have something else that you believe. We don't believe it's true, and we're going to tell you why that is not true. This is what the chapter is talking about. This is what the Quran is talking about. What is the reason of revelation of this verse? Disbelievers believe something, and Muslims believe something. We're not going to compromise by worshiping what you worship for a period of time, and you worship what we worship for a period of time. Okay, hopefully that clarifies specifically that chapter that you brought. Now, the last thing about Satan not prostrating, etc. As I said to you, disbelief is opposing the 6 articles of faith. One of them is to oppose the command of the Creator, oppose God, oppose the command of Allah. Allah is the controller, the Creator, the one worthy of worship. So if he said no, that's an action of disbelief. It's not just about saying that there is no Creator. It's also about disobeying the Creator or refusing the command of the Creator has given to you. And the reason was arrogance. Yes, he believed he was better than Adam. And there's a lot of them Fassirun or the people of exegesis will talk about history to do with that. For instance, how they say that actually Iblis was on earth and then he was elevated due to his good work. And then he saw there's a new person now coming in the picture who's getting the attention is Adam. And everyone is prostrating to him. So he got this sense of arrogance. I'm better than him. So they will talk about history behind it. It's not like out of nowhere he started to say, I'm not going to prostrate or something, right? So essentially that's it. Yeah, just trying to kind of deal with the different points that you made, I do hope that does answer anyways what you're asking anyways.
It does, thank you. And again, apologies for the waffling into question.
It's okay. I was going to give you some jam and cream for your waffle, mate.
To be fair, and I'll put myself back to listener Johnny. The reason why, because I don't want to be misunderstood as well. The reason why I mentioned October 7th, it's not really about that date and the events, but it's because I was not praying ever before for the longest time I can remember, not reading Quran, not paying attention, and understanding the religion and what it means to be a Muslim. And as a father, I was asked that question many times, and I couldn't really articulate why should I believe in this religion, why my kids should believe in it, and what it means to be a Muslim. But again, thank you both, and I'll go back to being a listener.
Thank you, SDF. We'll go to one more, and then we'll go to the more historical context of the religions. Who's been waiting? I think you've been waiting the longest.
Oh, bring a Tommy boy on, man. What are you bringing Muslims on for? Bring Tommy boys on.
There's no way they're going to come up here, man. No chance.
There must be someone there who wants to talk about grooming gangs or white traitors or send them home.
Tommy himself would not have the balls to come in this space. He just wouldn't.
I had me and Muhammad Ali, actually, funny enough. So basically, I arranged I think Muhammad was going to debate Tommy, but Tommy pulled out on him. And so I arranged to debate Tommy. I had it all arranged. And then I was bringing Muhammad with me as a friend. I said, Tommy can bring a friend out and I'll bring a friend. And so you remember this, Muhammad? That
he ran away twice.
He ran away.
Two different people.
Fell off a cliff. The guy who was trying to arrange it was saying, I don't know what's happened to him. He's not responding to me anymore. So, but I said it to this guy. I said, listen, there is no way a Tommy's handler's going to allow him in a room with me because I'm going to destroy every single thing he spent years building up in front of his eyes and in front of his audience. And there's just no way will they risk that. And I said, it's not going to happen. The guy said, no, he said he knows who you are, Speaker's Corner. I said, are you sure? Yeah, he knows who you are. Yeah, he knows who I am. That's why he didn't come. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
Cheers, Hamza. Listen, nothing would make me happier to see Tommy coming here and get absolutely destroyed, but that's just.
But none of his boys. They're usually pretty mouthy.
Mate, he wouldn't even debate me. I challenged him to debate. He fucking blocked me. He won't even debate me, and I am definitely not expert on Islam at all. But he won't even debate me. So, yeah, the guy's a coward, and the people that follow him are just lemmings with no brains, in my opinion. I want to go to Umar, and then we're gonna move the topic over to start the historical context of the Abrahamic religions and talk about that. Umar, you there?
I'm here. Can I talk now?
The floor's yours, mate. Yeah, thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be succinct and to the point. So I've put something up on the nest. Since the Gaza war, the conversion rate of people accepting Islam has increased to 400%. Now with the genocide in Lebanon, this should be doubling now. So it could be 800% now. So that's that, number one. Number two, I'll give you a real life hypothetical example. The other day, went to the pharmacy here in London, East London. There's three females behind the counter. One, you could say virtually naked. The second one, partially naked. And the third one was fully covered from head to toe. You can only see her eyes. They were all doing the same job. There was no difference between the three of them in terms of their job etiquettes, their job performance.
This isn't a question.
So here, where we live in London, we've got fully practicing Islamic people, men and women, in the NHS, in high government
channeling his
positions.
inner Chris Eubank.
We even did a consortium, changed the government, local government system here, and we're doing very well. Islam is not a problem. The opposition to Islam is a problem. We have high academics, high-end academics, high-end official workers in the NHS, high-level senior positions, maintaining their beard, maintaining their hijab, niqab, even in the schools.
Omar, can I ask you a question, mate?
Okay, I'm going to lose my chain of thought, but go on.
How do you understand the word succinct?
Oh my gosh, you're going to lose my chain of thought, Hamza. Sorry. Oh yeah. Before I forget, I want to say thank you to you since I got the opportunity to be on your space. So thank you for all the work you do. We appreciate it highly, and we hope Allah blesses you further.
I mean,
with all your dawah work. Okay, let me just carry on some important points. So we're like 5th generation Muslims here now. Going to be granddad soon, so 5th generation coming in. So Alhamdulillah. So it's just we've been battling the far rights since donkeys days, and the far right and the Zionists, they work hand in hand. And as you know, the Zionists pull the strings with as we recently with the recent riots in London here, where our youngsters were on the front line.
He just said the previous waffle.
You know, we've been
decided to waffle.
So yeah, so Islam is not the threat. The threat is those who oppose Islam, and you need to look into why do they oppose. So I just told you in London, we've got areas where it is prohibited to hold alcohol. You're talking about alcohol before. In the NHS, I don't know the percentage, but it's a significant percentage of the illnesses and the taxpayers' money is being wasted due to alcohol consumption. Okay, and these are not legal, medical professionals who have confirmed this. Alcohol is very bad for business. Right now, we are actively working with Muslim business owners, non-Muslim business owners, who are converting their alcohol stock to the vegan stock, to the vegetarian stock, to the non-alcoholic stock. So alcohol is a poison, like smoking. They've got it on the box. This will kill you. This kills you. Do you understand? So same with alcohol. It's going to come sooner or later. Like with smoking, things are going to change, and I'll stop there. It's a lot of stuff we covered. I'll let that sink in. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you, Omar. I want to go to me and Zeke before I move topics because they've had their hand up for a while, so I'm assuming they want to say something on this particular topic. Me, you there?
Yes, thank you, Johnny. Hello to my brothers, everyone, Muslims, Jews, and Christians. I'm Christian. I just want to make a few points, and then I'm going to drop down. So a few years ago, the best thing happened to me in the UK. I was born in Greece. I'm in the UK for many, many years. I met someone, and they gave me a present. It was the Holy Quran from Mecca in Greek and in English. And that opened my eyes to the extent that I decided to start reading the Bible. I was so ignorant that I didn't know that part of my religion is also the Old Testament. And I read something interesting, Johnny. Jesus Christ said, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets." This is Matthew 5:17-20. And I thought to myself, what laws? So I started reading the Old Testament. And let me tell you some of the examples you asked. I grew up saying, the Muslims have the Sharia law, killing people, blah, blah, blah. If you go back to our laws that the Christians should follow, you can find them in Exodus, in Leviticus, etc. One of them, and people can go and find out, it says, Exodus 12:35, 21:12. Anyone who strikes a man so that he dies must be put to death. Oh my God, the Christians have a law like that, but we blame the Muslims. Then I kept reading, and I read another thing. As Christians, we shouldn't eat blood, and we should do it and bless the meat. I'm wondering who else does this and how it's called. It's called halal, Johnny. But when we see halal in UK, we say, oh my God, they do rituals to the meat before they eat. So our ignorance in the West is massive. And this happened for one reason and one reason only. When Assad's dad kicked the Americans out, we had to turn the Muslims against the Christians. That was the turning point. Because otherwise we wouldn't go and slaughter everyone in Middle East. And we had to embed this propaganda in the education system in every Western country and poison the Christians to the extent that they will hate Muslims. We will feel that they are the threat to Christianity, so we can go and do what we did in Middle East. Because you will not hear in the news a Christian killed, a gay killed, a vegan killed. The brainwashing since the day we were born is disgusting. So I urge everyone to start reading the Old Testament and the truth, the New Testament, and open the Holy Quran and read. I personally have no time to debate anyone that comes with examples from Talmud, the media. If you cannot read the original source, stay in your ignorance. And thank you to Mohammed, Hamza, Johnny. Amazing space. Do it again. Thank you.
Farsto, Yasu.
Thank you, Umi. I appreciate that. Always love your contributions. You always speak very well, so thank you very much. We'll go to Zeke, then Appa, and then we'll move on. Zeke?
Hey, Johnny, thank you so much for bringing me, for hosting this beautiful space. Secondly, Hamza and Mohammed, man, I have a lot of respect for both of you. You guys are wonderful people. Keep fighting the good fight. The one thing I wanted to note here is that in Islam, I'm a Muslim. I've been born Muslim. I wasn't always practicing, but I certainly came to terms around like 10 years ago, and I started like really, I had a crazy dream, and it made me turn a new leaf, and I didn't want to suffer, in eternity in hellfire. So I fixed my ways. So here I am now, and I'm this far down in the path, and I don't know if we're going to get into like my madhabs here, so I'm going to hold off on that. But I did want to just ask in regards to, and I know this has been spoken about before at length, but when people speak about like the Trinity, for example, and they pick and choose, parts of the scripture to show their narrative, but there are so many things in the scripture that go against that. But my question to you is this: is that when, and I get this quite a bit, and I just kind of shrug my shoulder, and I want to answer from you guys. Those in the Quran, Allah says that He made the guy who, not that guy, the disciple that went against Jesus, and he was put on the cross. That gentleman, Allah says He made it look like Jesus, right? So he looked like Jesus. So all the people that were there at the time, they saw that was Jesus, peace be upon him. I'm sure they thought it was him. So based on the knowledge and information you guys can share with us here, anybody from that time all the way up until Prophet Muhammad's time that has heard Prophet Muhammad's message, those people are not at fault for believing that Jesus was put on the cross. And please answer that, and I'll yield for now.
Sorry, can you just kind of repeat the question?
No, I understood it. I understood this
Oh,
this
right,
question,
go on,
and I'm sure Mohammed did as well. Do you want to answer Mohammed?
Mohammed's dropped.
Is it?
It happened earlier. Come back, but go on, Hamza.
All right. So basically, he premised this question on the idea that the Quran says that somebody.
Yeah, this thing was not working just for a second.
All right,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Do you want to respond?
can hear you,
Do you want to respond? Or
Yeah. First thing is, like he said, the Quran says. The Quran doesn't say what he said.
I know. I'm just going to agree with you as you go. Yeah, I agree.
Doesn't it say? Doesn't it say? Should be lahum?
Yes. Yeah. So chapter 4 of the Quran, verse 157, is what he's referring to. Where Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَقَوْلِهِمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا الْمَسِيحَ. And their statement, or when they boasted about killing the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, Allah says, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ. Did not kill him, nor did they crucify him. And then Allah says, وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. It was made to appear onto them. So that is explicitly what the Quran says. There's no ideas in the Quran that talks about a man being replaced. You were talking about Judas. It was not Judas or anyone. There is no such thing in the Quran or in the Hadith. Now there is a narration that is mentioned, but that narration is not attributed to the Prophet ﷺ. It's not our revelation that we take. That can be mentioned in the books of exegesis, like, for example, Ibn Kathir, etc. But that story is not revelation. It's not something anyone has to believe, that there was someone else that was put there in the place of Jesus. But what I like to do is to let's hypothetically accept this and say, oh, let's say hypothetically if someone else put in the place of Jesus and people believe that Jesus was killed. If the people at the time of Jesus who believed the message of Jesus, what was the message of Jesus? Worship one God alone. There's no such thing as a Trinity. Do not eat pork, fast, prostrate by paying to God, falling in your face, cover your head like Mary was. If the people who were living at the time of Jesus followed those commands by worshiping one God alone and just believing he was a messenger of God, but mistakenly believed that he was killed, that does not influence their salvation from an Islamic point of view. We believe that many prophets were killed. Allah mentions examples of prophets being killed in the Quran. The Bible mentions examples of Jewish people killing prophets. So just because a prophet was killed or died, if we were to accept that Allah made someone, which is not true anyways, I'm saying hypothetically, even if we were to accept this hypothetical example, there's no issues there if someone mistakenly thought a prophet of God was killed when he wasn't killed, because that does not influence their salvation as long as they follow the monotheistic teaching that messenger and prophet came with. But the Quran doesn't say that anyways.
Hamza, do you have anything to add?
We took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, so basically, I was trying to explain the problem of his question was the premise of his question, that he thinks we believe this idea that the Quran is definitive, saying somebody else was put on the cross, so there was somebody there, and the people are not at fault. And it's just like my brother said, that the Quran just says it appeared to them. They believed this thing. They believed it was. Now, there were Christians of the time, I think it was Basileans, who believed it was Judas Iscariot who was put on the cross. No, so they believed Simon of Cyrene. Sorry, Simon of Cyrene, the one who carried the cross of Jesus. They believed he was the one who was crucified. And the Basileans, according to the Gospel of Barnabas, I believe, how authentic that is or whatever, but that talks about Judas being the one who was crucified. So there was ideas of somebody other than Jesus being crucified. So it wasn't like a new invention. It wasn't something new. And as Muslims, we don't go definitive on the point of how it appeared so to them. There's different theories. There's the idea of the one that was perpetuated there was this substitution idea that someone else was replaced. There's the swoon theory that he actually went on the cross but didn't die there. There's a legend theory, whereas it was just a story made up to support a narrative. That that gospel writers were the ones who actually created this thing, and then there's also a misconstrued thing where people believe history confirms this crucifixion, where all history does is confirm the idea that people believed there was a crucifixion. And this is exactly what the Quran says. The people believed it, and history reports people believed it. So the history confirms the Quran and the Quran confirms history. Now, the irony of this, if there was no mention in the Bible of a crucifixion, you could actually point to the Quran. I guarantee you, if there was no crucifixion in Christianity, right, and the Quran was talking about people thought he was crucified, the Christians, whatever they would be coming to us saying, why does your Quran talk about a crucifixion? There was never a crucifixion. Do you understand? So the point here is this: if there was no crucifixion in the Bible, then you could actually point to the Quran and say, well, the Quran's made a historical error here because it's talking about something that never occurred. But all the Quran does is confirm the idea that people believe this thing happened. So there's no disconnect there. I think that answered his question.
Does that answer your question? I forget who asked it now.
Zeke, yeah, it answered my question. This is the first time I've heard lecture from Mufti Menk, and he said that the Jews is scary, and Jesus ascended, and they took him and they put him on the cross, and he was saying, "I'm not Jesus, I'm not Jesus." So I've heard Mufti Menk say that they took somebody and put him on the cross. So this is the first time I'm hearing it in this way.
The thing is, you see, the Quran's clear. Allah says, none of you know what happened. All of you are just guessing. That's what the Quran tells you. Allah tells you, none of you know. None of you can go definitive on what happened. Yeah? And anyone who thinks they are, they're just in conjecture. They're just guessing. So we can't go definitive on the issue. Because I mean, there are people that go even more definitive who say like, the one who was on Jesus was, the first Roman centurion that entered the house to arrest Jesus. He was transformed into the likeness of Jesus. And then there's another tradition that says Jesus asked his companions, who will take my place? And this young companions. You can't go definitive on these things. So, I think, to be honest with you, a lot of Muslims have made errors in trying to go definitive. The reality is we don't know what happened. We don't know how it occurred. We certainly can't go specifics. So all we know is Allah says he wasn't crucified, he wasn't killed. Khalas. What happened? We don't know. Very simple.
Thank you, Hamza.
Okay, appreciate that very much. Thank you, guys.
All right,
Thank you, Zeke. Guys, just before I go any further, can you do me a favor? If you're in space, can you please retweet the space so we can try to get more people involved? I would appreciate that. I know
me. Go on. Sorry, carry on.
So, I hope everyone's enjoying the space and learning and taking something away from this space. We'll go to Appa, and then, like I said, we'll move on. You kind of touched on it there, Hamza, but we'll go more deeper into it in a second. Yeah, Appa, you there?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say, Hamza and Muhammad, I'm a huge fan of your content. I consume a lot of your content. Second, I just want to address, I think there was a little bit of a misunderstanding about the definition of jihad. Hamza said it's to fight in the cause of Allah. It's part of it. Jihad just means to struggle. And there are two types of jihad. There's internal jihad, there's the greater jihad and lesser jihad. The greater jihad is the struggle with oneself, your desires, and being a good person.
That's
like
what I did say.
Hamza mentioned.
I did say that. Yes, I did say.
And then there's the external jihad, which is really anything external. It doesn't mean fighting. It can come in the form of fighting, but jihad just means to struggle. What people in the West have this common misconception that jihad means holy war. I had this Christian tell me like, no, it means holy war. Like, brother, my native language is Arabic. Like, and he said, no, it means holy war. So just wanted to clarify that. That's all.
Thank you, and I'm glad you did that because, that the word jihad has been completely weaponized, especially in the West. Everyone will know that. They can't wait to,
It was only because Saddam Hussein said it. Only because Saddam Hussein said this is a jihad. That's the only reason that came into the vocabulary.
I didn't know that.
It was only when he said it that what was happening when he was firing his Scud missiles, he was calling the Muslims to come and support him. He said this is a jihad, as a kind of like a justification for all Muslims to come and they're obligated to join this fight. That was, I'm pretty sure that's the first time I ever heard it coined in England, in Britain, or whatever, in the news or whatever, and that a jihad kind of thing.
Fair enough. I want to sort of talk about the history of the religions. We're going to bring Palestine and Israel into it now. They are all three religions are Abrahamic. So the prophet Abraham sort of stems from him. As much as I understand it. Again, I'm not no religious scholar, so if I say anything that's incorrect, please, anybody, you're welcome to correct me. I've watched the story of Moses. I've watched several documentaries on it and discussions. And they love to say that they're God's chosen people, and you know the land of Canaan belongs to them, it doesn't belong to anybody else. As far as I understand it, Mohammed or Hamza, they were the first people in the land of Canaan. Canaan was already occupied by people before the sort of Israelites got there. Could you speak on that, please, Mohammed?
Yeah, so okay, the land of Canaan and the Canaanites, or what we call Canaaniyun, there were people existing there before Abraham. There were people existing there before Abraham. Now, I want to make something very clear because a lot of people seem to misunderstand things here. So I'm going to ask you this question. What religion was Abraham, Johnny?
That's a great question, and I'll be honest, I don't have the answer. Just being honest, I know he's a prophet. I know. I think
was Muslim. He was Muslim.
Oh, was he Muslim? I mean,
Yeah.
how could he be Muslim though? Because Judaism came and then Christianity and then Islam, didn't it? And wasn't he?
No, Islam is
peacemaking. Why is this guy? Sorry, why is this guy speaking? Sorry.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, we just want Johnny to arrive to a conclusion. There's a reason I'm asking the question, right? It's not about spoon feeding information, right? It's
I don't want to give you a bullshit answer. I don't want to give you a nonsense answer. So my answer to that question is I actually don't know what religion he was purported to be.
Okay, fantastic. What about Isaac or
Isaac,
Ishmael?
Weren't they Abraham's sons?
Yes.
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna my instincts is telling me that they were Jews.
Well, so this is where the misconception comes in, right? The reason I ask you the question is for that reason. There's a big population of the masses that seem to believe both Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael maybe as well were Jews or from a Jewish descent, which is historically impossible. And the reason is very simple. That people call today as a religion of Judaism, where the Ten Commandments came and all of that, was at the time of Moses. At the time of Isaac, Abraham, and Ishmael, that was way before. So it's impossible for what they call today the Jewish religion to exist. Now you had Jacob, which the term Israel is given to, by the way. Israel, the title was given to Jacob, and Jacob is from the children of Isaac. And then you have the children of Jacob being the 12 tribes of Israel. One of them being Judah, where you have Judea and Judaism and all of these terms. Now, all of that comes later. So it's impossible for Abraham, Isaac, or Ishmael to be Jews. It's impossible for them to be, whether it is ethnically or religiously. They could not have been that. Now, what were they? Now, we have the term Muslim and Islam. And Allah, by the way, says this in the Quran. It's not my argument, by the way. It's an Islamic argument. It's mentioned in the Quran. Allah mentions it in chapter 3 of the Quran, if you read from verse 63 onwards, where Allah says that we should speak to Jews and Christians and bring them to a common term to worship God alone. And then Allah talks about Abraham. And he said, مَا كَانَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ يَهُودِيًّا وَلَا نَصْرَانِيًّا, that Abraham was not and could not have been Jew or a Christian. وَلَكِنْ كَانَ حَنِيفًا مُسْلِمًا. He was a monotheist believer. He submitted to the Creator. He was a Muslim. What does the word Muslim mean? It means to submit to God. Everyone who believes in Abraham believes that Abraham submitted to God's command when he said, go and slaughter your son. Now, what kind of submission is that? It's ultimate submission. When you have a son, you're an old age, and you got this gift from God, and then God says, okay, go and slaughter that son. Have this vision and dream, the command of God to go and slaughter the son. Now, this is ultimate submission, where you say, okay, God commanded me, so I'm going to go and fulfill and do that command of God. Okay? So what we say then is this is what we refer to as submission. This is what the word Muslim means. It means to submit to the one true God, the God of Abraham, the God of Noah, the God of Adam, the God of Jesus, and all of the prophets and messengers. This is what Muslims mean when they say Abraham was Muslim, Moses was Muslim, etc. So if Abraham was a Muslim, and whether you want to accept he was a Muslim or not, Abraham was not a Jew or a Christian. So that person, whatever his religion was, that monotheist individual called Abraham, God promised him the land of Canaan. Okay? Then he promised that person called Isaac, and that person called Isaac could not have been a Jew. So you cannot come to me today as a Jew and say to me, oh, this is our land because God promised Abraham and Isaac. Okay, you're sorry, but Abraham and Isaac are not Jews. So you cannot come and use Abraham and Isaac. Allah says in the Quran, إِنَّ أَوْلَى النَّاسِ بِإِبْرَاهِيمَ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُ. The most worthy people of Abraham are those who followed him. We followed Abraham. He didn't believe in a Trinity. He believed in one monotheistic religion, submitting to the Creator alone. And that's what Muslims did. So the people who are worthy of that land that was given to Abraham and Isaac are the Muslims who actually followed Abraham and Isaac and followed the teachings and the religion of Abraham and Isaac. Now, that is hypothetically if we were to accept the claim that that land was given to them anyways. Okay? So God spoke to Abraham. If we want to take the biblical tradition now, if we want to hypothetically accept that tradition, because that's not Islamic history now, that's the biblical history. If we want to take biblical history, God says to Abraham, go to that land of Canaan, right? Then he promises that that land is going to be for him and his progeny, etc. Him and his progeny includes Ishmael, by the way, right? Because Ishmael is from his progeny. But if we were to accept that, he talks to Isaac later, and he also promises Isaac that land. Now, that land had people called Canaaniyun. By the way, Canaaniyun were Arabs. A lot of people don't understand that. But they were original Arabs. Two types of Arabs. There's original Arabs, and then there are Arabs who adopted or took the Arabic language, Arabic tongue from other Arabs, from original Arabs. So Egyptians and Moroccans and all of these people today are not the original Arabs from that sense. The original Arabs were in that region, or in the Canaan, they were in Yemen, they were in these regions. So those Canaaniyun who were Arabs were there in that land. That's why it's called Canaan. They were called Canaanites because they were Arabs. This is where Abraham went, and this is how Ishmael learned the Arabic language, by the way. Where do you think Ishmael learned the Arabic language from? He learned the Arabic language from the Canaaniyun because he went to that region with his father.
Just to interrupt you, Mohammed, just one sec. Because from the knowledge that I have, and again, I'm not saying that I'm correct, Mohammed, so please, you're welcome to correct me. The documentary that I watched a documentary on Moses on Netflix, and as far as I understand it, Moses got the 10 Commandments from God, and he commanded Moses to take the Israelites to the land of Canaan. He then dies, and
yes, I'm coming to that.
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry,
So that's later on, actually.
Sorry.
So what I like to do is to bring you all the way back in history, right? So the actual history, what happened in history, way before even Moses was born.
You're the expert on this. I'm just a student, so please carry
on.
Yeah.
So right now I'm just telling you way before even Moses existed or was born. I'm talking about even way before that. So we want to talk about originality and go back, right? So I'm saying even way before we even introduced Moses into the picture, this was the idea. There was this land, there was these people called Canaaniyun living in that land. And then later on, as you said, that land was not taken by Abraham, and it was not taken for them by controlling it, being the leader. That did not happen. At the time of Moses, God commanded, now we're talking about the biblical tradition, now following what you were mentioning. God commanded Moses to take the Israelites from Egypt to the land of Canaan. Okay, he told them, go, because they were being oppressed there by the Pharaoh. Okay, take them and go put them in that land, the land of Canaan. Now, what happens is God makes that promise to them, but due to their disobedience, while Moses is taking them on the way, they worship the cow, they disobey God, they commit polytheism. So God does not give them that land. So that promise of God saying, go to that land, and that land, you shall live in that land, was never fulfilled due to their disobedience. That narrative is in the Quran, and it's also in the biblical tradition, and they are lost in the land for 40 years. Now, that was a punishment to them due to their disobedience. So they didn't deserve that land. Allah mentions in the Quran, he says, where Moses and Aaron said to them, just enter the land. Just go and enter the land and it will be yours. Then they say, go, you and your Lord fight, because we are afraid that the people there are strong people. We're not going to go fight. You go and you and fight, you and your Lord. And due to that, Allah says in the Quran that this punishment has been bestowed upon them, that they will be lost in the land for 40 years. Now, later on, Moses died and he never enters the land anyways. So Moses does not enter the land of Canaan. And then comes Joshua after, right? Now, when Joshua comes, he enters the land and slaughters everyone, including the children. If you read the history, it is incredible how the Bible explicitly talks about slaughtering infants and children and animals, and just exactly what you see today in the land of Palestine was what happened there. And then there was a period of time where you had them ruling in that land, and you had them fighting one another as well. So you had the tribes, you had them splitting the land, you had Judea, you had that for a small period of time, and then you had the Assyrians. And then you had the exile, the Assyrian exile, and then you had the Babylonians, and then you had the destruction of the temple by the Roman Empire, and then you had the Muslims afterwards. But now it's a very important thing to see. Now, if you want to count the history and see, okay, they were there for a small period of time, but they entered slaughter and they lived there for a small period of time. They kicked out twice, the temple destroyed, the beam killed, and then the Muslims came and lived there for over 1,000 years, and the Muslims staying there. Now, the important thing is that those Canaanites, those Canaaniyun, those same Canaanites, they mixed with a lot of the people from the children of Israel. And the original people were Arab, Canaaniyun. Then you had people from the children of Israel. You had many of these people accepting Islam and living there. Now, all the way up to, you want to go now to when the British Empire, after obviously Muslims had that land for a very long time, over 1,000 years, you had the time of the end of the Ottoman Empire. And then you had the Balfour Declaration, and you had England promising that land.
Before we get to
Yes.
sort of modern times, I want to just go back to the history part a second. Jews would say to you, you know, we are God's chosen people. It chose that land for us. But again, from what I understand, it was conditional. So they had to leave a sort of a righteous and stay on the sort of right path, if you will. And they didn't do that, as you mentioned already. When Moses was getting the 10 Commandments, they started, I believe that they started worshipping a cow or something, right? And
the calf,
yeah, and they started basically. They went away from God's command, right? And they sent them into exile for 40 years. And then they sort of go back to God. He kind of forgives them. And then they make mistakes again, and then he sends them into exile again, as far as I understand. As far as I understand the story. But the conditional part, why do Jews, and I'm not saying all Jews, but a lot of Jews, like they failed, like when they say God's chosen people, they make it out like only them people are allowed to live on that land, right? And that nobody else is allowed on that land. It's their land. As we see now in 2024, that is the narrative that goes around. It's their land. It's nobody else's. But from what I've learned, Mohammed or Hamza, it did come with conditions. Like you had to, like, you know, treat people fairly, live a righteous life. Just to summarize it quickly, is that correct, Mohammed? Like, was it conditional?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was conditional. Not only they failed the condition, and that's why they were never given that land, because they never fulfilled the conditions that God has given them to fulfill. And I'm telling you, why were all of these exiles and destruction of temple happening? You ask the Jews, they will tell you, because they were not righteous nations. They were living the most corrupted of lives. And that is mentioned in their own books, how they were worshiping other than God and were doing all of these things. And due to that, they were being slaughtered and killed by other nations and civilization. They were not just, this is not happening just because people don't like them.
Mohammed,
Yeah.
Mohammed, does the Quran mention anything about Allah giving them this land?
The Quran mentions a promise for them to enter the land, and then if they enter the land, they will live safely there. And now, nowhere in the Quran does Allah say this is eternally for you until the end of times. There's no such thing. This is just a narrative that they spin.
This is what I'm saying to you, because this whole question from Tommy that he's asking is premised that when you read the Old Testament, that you're reading some kind of God's history. Now,
yeah,
this is the thing. Exactly. Sorry, just very quickly. When I look at the Old Testament, I just see biased Jewish history. It doesn't surprise me they've been promised this land because they wrote the book, personally. So the whole premise, to be honest with you, is flawed when you're asking. Well, if you ask me this question, I'm sure Mohammed as well. We don't even accept the premise of the question that they were given this land.
So exactly, but what I like to do, this is a funny thing. I like to say, even from their own narrative, even from, it doesn't work even from their own narrative. We want to take their own narrative as historical, which we completely reject. And they twisted many things, like they twisted who was the son that Abraham was supposed to slaughter, right? And you have the Bible saying your only son, and Ishmael was the oldest. So they twisted everything. No wonder that they would twist the part about who's the land for and whatever it is.
100%.
But that's any of that. Of course, is irrelevant. We said even if they were promised, they were never promised for eternity to live in that land. We don't accept that. And we said that they did not fulfill their own promise that was given to them by God. And due to that, all of these exiles and massacres were taking place. And when Muslims took the land, it's very important now to understand. When Muslims took the land, they allowed the Jewish people back in. This is explicitly historically accepted. It's not a Muslim narrative now. They allowed the Jewish people back in, and that's why when you look at 1970, you had Jewish people living there, 10% of the population being Jewish, and then you had someone like Herzl, who brought all the European Jews who were running away from the Crusades, brought all the European Jews who have no say to that land, and said, "Oh, okay, start coming in ships now," and the Palestinians allowed them in. Actually, They don't say, oh, you're not allowed to enter the land. No, they allow them in. They welcome them as long as they live in peace. There's no issues in someone entering that. And then what they ended up doing, you had from 1970 until after, you had 1940, you had from 10% to over 30% Jewish people in that land. And then you had the Balfour Declaration come into the picture. You had the British Empire making this lie, saying to the Arabs, fight with us against the Ottomans and we'll give you the land. And then when they fought with them and the Ottomans were defeated, they ended up offering the land to the Jewish people. And that's how they took the land. So it was a forceful thing. Most of them are Europeans, people who were never in that land, because they were Muslims living there for hundreds of years, generations after generations. They were Jewish living there, hundreds of years, peacefully. They were Christians living there. Now, you had all of these Europeans who would use the term Ashkenazi Jew, and they make up the DNA test illegal for some reason. You cannot do it in Israel for a very valid reason, right? So when you start tracing the blood, where do these people actually come from? You'd be surprised, yeah? So those people who claim to be Jews, as kind of Ashkenazi Jews, they came from Europe, and they were then excused to take that land. So they started pretending as if God has given them this land and they are God's chosen people and all of this nonsense. Now they came. What they ended up doing is the same thing that their book says about slaughtering children, women, and infants, and this and that, and forcefully trying to take that land, which is something that Muslims never did, by the way. Muslims took lands, but when they took lands, they took governments. They didn't slaughter women, men, and children, and then took their lands, and then put Muslims inside these houses and said, go to another land. Muslims didn't do that.
Anyone
Muslims took
joining?
governments. We don't like hide this
This is
reality.
a
But taking a
live
government
stream
is
on
not
Twitter.
equivalent to going in a land and taking people from their own houses, their own homes, and making settlements and taking killing their women, children, and infants and donkeys, and saying that's a command of God. So in reality, if that land was for anyone, it would be for, as we said, let's start with Abraham. Prove to me Abraham was a Jew. It's impossible, anyways, historically. It was for Isaac or Abraham. Now, who follows Isaac and Abraham? The people who followed Isaac and Abraham are the people who are worthy of that land. Now, don't come to me with this and that. Other than that, we don't accept. If we were to take your own narrative, this land was promised to Abraham and Isaac and Ishmael, because it says his children as well.
Just one of the points that I watched a discussion with a rabbi called I think it's Elman Beck, and he talks about like the Jews are still in exile, right? He says if you're a true Torah Jew, you should not be there at all. And this is his own words coming from the Jewish rabbi. He said, we were sent into exile. To this day, we're still in exile until the Messiah returns, right? According to their religion. So even if you were God's chosen people, which as far as I understand it, you were, and it came with a condition, you broke the conditions, you're sent into exile, then, and you've got all your own rabbis say, like, again, there's more than one rabbi saying this, that we're still in exile, right? So, but if you're following the true word of your God, right, and he sent you into exile, what are you even doing there? Is my question. Like, do you get what I'm saying, Hamza? Because this is a narrative that they push out every single day, that they're God's chosen people, right? And they're going to bring this red calf to bring the Messiah back. But again, the true Torah Jews that I've listened to, they say it themselves, like, no, we're not meant to be there. We're in exile. I could still have a spiritual connection to Palestine, but I'm not physically there because, or the land of Canaan, right? I'm not physically there because I'm not allowed to be there by God's command. So the people that are over there right now, they're not even following God's word, are they not, Hamza or Mohammed?
Yeah. So the thing is, yeah, you want to say something, Hamza?
No, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, so look, the thing is this, look, they tell you they are in exile because the temple is destroyed. They say until the temple is rebuilt, that's when the Messiah comes. Then you're able to take that land by right. So even those Jewish people that you hear that they say, oh, you're not allowed to steal, God says don't steal. And of course, God says that don't steal and 10 commands. That's why you cannot steal people's lands and claim that you're building settlement. That's against your own book, right? So you have some Orthodox Jews who say that. But they still believe, those Orthodox Jews, they do believe that when the Messiah comes and then the temple is rebuilt and then that land is going to be ours. So they believe it from that side, but they don't believe now. Now they believe you're disobeying God because the Messiah is not here. Temple is not rebuilt. You're not allowed to do that on your own. You're still being punished in a form of an exile like that. rabbi that you're mentioning says. So the truth is, most of them are not religious anyways. They just use this as an excuse, as I said to you. There is a reason the DNA test is not allowed. It's illegal to do a DNA test in what they call Israel. Why is that illegal? Because they know if they were to use that claim and do a DNA test, that DNA test is going to refute their own claim because that land is not for them. You're not allowed to steal. Even if we were to accept that that land is for them, I mean, God said you can rule that land. God does not say anywhere, kick the people who have been indigenous living there for years and take that land and then you live in it. So that even that doesn't work. Even if we were to accept that, okay, you're the ruling government. Even if you're the ruling government, the people who are living there for generations, you have no justification to take their own houses. So whichever way you want to take their own claim, and even if you want to take it and follow it and accept it, it doesn't work. It doesn't support their case.
And if there happens to be any Jewish people that are listening to the space, because like just shot 300 people in, this is not me trying to be anti-Semitic or any of us being anti-Semitic. We're just being truthful and factual to the sort of.
I'm Semitic, by the way, since
Yeah,
I'm Arab, just to let you know.
I defend Palestine.
So that doesn't work.
I defend Palestinians like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, who are Semitic people. So I'm not anti-Semitic either. But you know, people clip stuff and misconstrue stuff and put it out there. But no one's, in my opinion, none of us have said anything remotely anti-Semitic. We're just speaking the truth, right?
You know what I would love? I would love for an Israeli to come here and try to talk to me about the land of Palestine. That's what I would love to hear. So if they're here, if they talk about anti-Semitism, why don't they come up here and chat with us about how this land is theirs and what and how they can justify anything that of what is taking place today in the land of Palestine? And trust me, I've tried many times to talk to them, and they admit that they are doing massacres. They admit it because they cannot justify it. There's no justification.
Now, even if like taking it away from religion a second, what's going on now in Palestine and Israel? Even if you don't believe in God, there's still we still have morals, right, and ethics and right and wrong, good and bad, you know. And even if you don't believe in God, that still is not. There's like just so from a human standpoint, right? You can't kill. You know, we all know killing children is wrong. We all know stealing is wrong. Or theft is wrong, right? Oppression is wrong. Slaughter is wrong. Just not even talking about being from a holy standpoint, right? Just from a human standpoint, all these things are wrong. But then when you go to it from a religious standpoint, these people are apparently God's chosen people. Well, from a Jewish standpoint, you're not even following the 10 commandments that Moses got from God, right? Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. Most people are aware of the 10 commandments. They don't even follow the 10 commandments. So like everything that they're supposed to do as a religious people, as it pertains to the Torah, as far as I understand it, Hamza or Mohammed, they're not even following their own guidelines or scriptures. Like they're not even following their own book. Would you agree with that, Mohammed, Hamza, or one of you?
Yeah, they're okay. They might not be following the commands of God, but they are following the Talmud and what their Jewish rabbis have told them. That's why I mentioned this in the beginning of the space. Is that the true religion that they follow is the religion of the rabbis. What the rabbis say they can do, they're going to do. It's not really about what God says. It's about how the rabbis understand what God says. So you'd be surprised if you started reading what the Talmud says about other nations and how you should treat with them and what you can steal or you cannot steal. For instance, you cannot do usury with another Jew, but you can do it with a goy, with someone who is not a Jew. And that shows you the ideas of the laws that they have in the Talmud. It will surprise you. But even that, there's a lot. To be fair, there's a lot of Jews who are Orthodox, and as I said, they clearly say the Messiah is not here, and you should not be stealing. You should not take someone else's land. You should not kill innocent children. But can you come up with an interpretation that what is done today is valid using the Talmud? Yes, you can. You can absolutely do that. But not many people read the Talmud. And if they read it, they would be shocked.
Thank you, Mohammed. Shami, you've had your hand up for a while. We got a question for Hamza or Mohammed, or would you like to just give your own opinion on this topic?
Yeah, thank you so much. Firstly, Johnny, I wanted to say thank you for giving us a platform to have these conversations. I think it's important to maintain civil discourse, and what we're talking about is obviously very important, especially with what's going on in the world. Hamza, I want to say I'm a big fan. I speak to you often in your shop live, so I appreciate those as well.
Nice, dude.
And Mohammed, it's an honor to meet you. I've been a big fan for a while, and as a revert myself from a few years ago, I'm still learning. And I guess the question I want to ask is, how does the sort of timeline look in terms of the first man on Earth to where we are today? Because I see like these charts, like family trees, right, where Adam is at the top, alayhi salam, and then it goes all the way down to Muhammad, who was the final messenger. But it seems like that timeline is like, I don't know, a few thousand years. So is the first man on this earth like, I don't know, 10,000 years ago, wherever it was? Or is it millions of years ago, which we have like, you know, fossils of, or whatever it is, like DNA, old DNA? Because I feel like that evidence is quite compelling, right? If there's bone fragments or dust or something of the first human from millions of years ago, then what does that mean about the whole lineage of all the prophets, right? And I guess another question I have on top of that is, how would all of us be offspring of Adam and Eve, like on a biological level, right? Like, is there any explanation for that? Thank you.
Is that for Hamza or is that for
Mohammed?
That was for Mohammed. That was for Mohammed.
Mohammed?
Or Hamza can jump in.
No, Mohammed can have that one.
Yeah, all right.
I'll just.
So when it comes
I'll
to
just mute myself.
When it comes to the history of things and this, there is no timeline given in the Quran or Hadith. There is no timeline given in the Quran or Hadith, meaning that this prophet was this at this specific time, and this was exact amount between each prophet. It was this amount of years. That doesn't exist. Now you have time and date in the biblical tradition, which can be problematic there. It's not problematic for us. We don't have this, and a lot of these trees that you see, these prophet trees, however, are based on an Israelite kind of biblical tradition. It's not based on Quranic or an Islamic tradition. So we don't accept that. But we can look, for example, like Noah living for nearly 1,000 years, etc. That shows you that things were different in the past. How long these people lived, how long was the distance between them exactly, we do not know. So that was the first question you asked. The second part of the question is, again, Allah didn't tell us. So you would have some exegetes saying that there was children from different, of course, from Adam and Eve, they're coming, and then their children from different bellies married each other. We don't have anything explicit on that. How exactly did they multiply the time? If that's the question that you're asking, how exactly did they biologically multiply? We do not know. There isn't anything explicit on that in the Quran or Hadith. That's what I can tell you, essentially. Can we multiply from two people? Of course we can multiply from two people, no problem. God can create extensive progeny just from two individuals, and they can multiply the earth. So there's nothing rationally impossible in that idea.
Appreciate your answer. I guess one little clarification I wanted to make was like, so does that mean then that Adam could have existed, like, I don't know, millions of years ago? Is that a possibility? If so, I saw a video from Mufti Menk. I know obviously his might not be completely accurate, but he mentioned something about Adam possibly descending to a region in the Indo-Pak subcontinent, right, which is like Sri Lanka area. And there's actually a place, I think, in Sri Lanka, which is called Adam's Peak. So if Adam did descend to this area on Earth millions of years ago, didn't Earth look completely different millions of years ago? Because we have like tectonic plates, and once upon a time we were all joint. Do you understand? I'm just trying to understand how these things go together. Do you get it?
It's interesting how this is the second time Mufti Menk is mentioned in the space here about a question.
Yeah, I was thinking. We need to have a word. We need to have a word.
Yeah. So okay, look. This is maybe a good point to make a clarification for people. If someone has a following on social media, whoever that person is, now we're not talking about any individual specific, that doesn't mean that everything they say is correct, right? What we have as evidence for us as Muslims is the text. Where's the proof? Where's the evidence text that says exactly what you're saying? Now, if I say something, I need to provide you the text evidence that backs up that position that I make. Now, of course, we know, and I'm sure even Mufti Menk himself knows very well, there's no such text that says there's an Indo-Pakistan and was that region. There's no such thing. And now, could it be possible, as you said, that Adam was there? Yes, it is possible, because there isn't anything explicit in the Quran or Hadith about how long ago Adam was. And therefore, we don't need to make any. Do you see? when people say certain things that are not based on Quran or Hadith and just assumptions, it ends up giving you these questions, right? It gives you these questions which make irrational points for you, and then you get confused because people have given you information that are not actually revelation, are not scriptural, and due to that, you can get confused about certain conclusions. So the important thing is to look at the premise. Just because someone has a following on social media, if he didn't give us a reference, then we're not obliged to accept the information the individual is given, whoever that person is, including myself, of course.
Okay, I guess I'll take that on board. I appreciate your answer, and again, thank you, Johnny, for giving me the space to speak and continue the good work. We should definitely do this again. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Shama. Very welcome. I think it's first time I spoke to you, so nice to meet you. But always welcome on any space that I do. I don't do them as much as I used to do because other people are doing them all the time, so I don't feel the need to. But I do like to put them on occasionally to give people a chance to speak. And I thought this was a great opportunity to educate people on the misconceptions of Islam and the historical nature of what we're talking about. I'm glad you're enjoying it, so thank you for your contribution. I think it was Hader next. Hader, are you there?
Yes, Salams and good evening. I just wanted to quickly add, I mean, I don't know, could we even at this stage consider the Judaism that majority of the people follow who claim to be from that faith to even be Abrahamic? Because they're following a rabbinical tradition which actually allows the killing of non-Jews. It actually says that the Goyim are lesser people and lesser beings. I mean, this is in their Talmud. This is something, look, something being in a text, because there's a lot of controversial texts with many different faiths, but it's not a major issue unless it's not being carried out. Here we're seeing, okay, fine, that doesn't mean that every single Jew is Talmudic. Majority are, number one. And number two, they are physically acting upon it. This is where the issue comes in. And not just that, we've also got this idea of their birth of a nation and their claim to this land, which a lot of is actually falsified. I think everybody here knows that Tel Aviv is literally the capital of the Rainbow family.
What is this format?
Right?
When they bring
And
people on, do they just
but you
become
can correct me if I'm wrong, but here it does actually say within the Quran that if
I don't quite understand this.
you keep to the laws of Moses, you may enter within the Holy Land.
Do a space on
Not called Tel Aviv, though.
Well, Yafa. But that's what they call it. I'm just using the terms that most people in the West would understand because I'm assuming we may have a mixed audience. Yes, no, I'm willing to accept that's not its true name.
Yeah, this could be interesting because we could.
However, sometimes we have to use the names that people are familiar with, just for the context purposes.
And I could talk here like I'm talking to them. There,
now, if you go back to the 17th century, this is where you see, I wouldn't say it's the first time, but half of the world's Jewish population began to follow.
These guys become speakers. Look on here. Look. Mohammed's a speaker. Dr. Shreen is a speaker. Love is a speaker. Haydari, the guy speaking now, is a speaker.
What had happened to him, he had this claim to being the Messiah.
Then these people are requesting to speak.
And he had this idea, which I think it goes back to the ancient mystery religions.
I think he sounds like independent Muslim.
I'm going to prove him as well.
Sorry?
I think he sounds like independent Muslim.
Who's that? Shabtai Zevi?
No, yeah, well, there is a person that thinks he's the Messiah.
Yeah, they're going to mute them.
Oh, right. So, can I just actually correct you on your language? Because language is really important. So when you say the rainbow people of the world started from Tel Aviv,
I didn't say they started from Tel Aviv.
Well,
no.
Can you just correct your language? Don't just say because the people in the audience or the listeners are stupid enough to, not understand. I think everyone that Johnny has brought into this space actually understands. So carry on. Thank you.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, these people You got to understand, if they're truly Abrahamic, this is the Holy Land. This is not any other part of the world. And the reason I had to make a reference to that point is because they shouldn't actually be there. It's just a fact. It might not be comfortable to them for many, and I totally understand that, but the facts still remain. It's something that's abhorrent to God. And, this is not just something that I am saying. No, this is consistent within all of the Abrahamic faiths. So, yeah, there's no need to correct me. I'm just merely stating a fact. Moving further on, so we've got this idea where half of the world's Jewish population has taken on this idea of redemption through sin. This is where you see the inversion, which is very similar to the Luciferian doctrine found in the ancient mystery religions. If you go further back, you'll see it as the Pythagoreans who practice this. So
I think I'm going to leave.
What does that leave us to where we are today? Well,
I don't know.
As I said, I don't think that the people who are Jewish and Israeli Zionists and in Israel right now are following any form of Abrahamic faith by majority, as half of the world's Jewish population back in the 17th century had taken on this Luciferian redemption through sin belief system.
So, sorry to interrupt you, dude. Johnny, I'm going to get out of Dodge, yeah? This is like weird. All right.
Yeah, no problem, Hamza. I just want to say thank you very much for your time tonight.
You're welcome.
Hamza.
You're welcome, mate.
I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I hope the audience have appreciated your time too.
Yeah, no worries. This has gone kind of clubhousey. All right. How do I leave?
Just press leave. Just top right. Leave. Just press leave.
All right. Nice one. All right.
Yeah, I want to. We're kind of gone off track here, so I understand why Hamza has said what he said. I want just Mohammed. I'm going to come back to you.
All right, I've left. Can't be bothered with that nonsense. All right. Oh, why did I leave? I'm done with it. It's pathetic. I'm gonna say Mohammed. Assalamualaikum Mohammed. Hope you're well, bro. MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair for coming. Beautiful education from you. Awesome stuff. Bro, that one just went weird on me. I just can't handle it anymore. So this seems to be the weirdo guests argue with each other. So yeah. I'm done with it. You enjoy it. Jazakallah khair for coming. And inshallah, we should do some more collaborations. I think we work well together, inshallah. Okay, Assalamualaikum, bro. Was it me that just went weird? I don't understand what happened. Even every single person was under the impression that if they came up to ask a question, they became like a co-speaker, and then they could like give their opinion on the topic and what they thought and give their weird ideas a run. Every one of them. I wanted Tommy Boys to come on and say, "Oh, you why this? Why what about Grooming? What was that?" It went weird. It was terrible. Yeah. Muhammad Ali gives some beautiful insights, but for me, it was terrible. It's like this in X spaces. I get it, but no, come on. If I was a mod, I'd say, listen, we understand how X space usually work, but in this occasion, if you want to come up, you just get to ask one of the speakers a question. That's it. Don't come up and make a monologue. Don't come up and tell us your understanding of how you see things and how you view different things. If it's based upon what you've heard said tonight, come up and ask a question. I could have added you, Joe. You could have unmuted yourself. You were there as a speaker, mate. Debate someone? No. No. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed. We've got arena tomorrow, inshallah. Let's get prepared for that. Yeah. That's that. So it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining for this impromptu live. But for me, I'm done. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, so the final arena war lineup tomorrow is it's a really, really cool lineup. So Ismail's not joining. So it's Zakir Hussain, mashallah. It's Sadat, the Canadian brother, and believe it or not, I've got a sister making her debut tomorrow. Dej, what's her name? I'll tell you what her name is. Deja. Her name's Khadija, so it's Deja, not Deja. Anyway, she's like in the realms of, you know, hanging around with Ramsey. Behave yourself, Iram. Hangs around with Ramsey and Wissam and those guys. That kind of Christianity flex. So we're going to make so that is very, very nice, mashallah. And Zakir Hussain is very, very knowledgeable. And then we've got this wild card sister who's actually going to be a gladiator, full on gladiator. So going to be good. It's going to be interesting. No, she's not a speaker's. I don't think she's speaker's corner. No. You she's let me see if I can find something of her that I can share with you. Let me just check. Give you a taste. I think she's got. Let me just check her TikTok. Deja's Dean. Let's have a look.
Yes. Beautiful. Okay. So Jesus being the.
All right. Let's give her a. Do you want to have a dry run of her? Do you want to be surprised? Do you want to like be a surprise, or do you want to see something? See her thingy. 1 second. Oh, I'm gonna share it now. 1 second. If I've got it, I don't know if I can get it here actually. Let me just check. Actually, I should be able to do it this way. If I share it on my WhatsApp, no, not my status. If I share it to my WhatsApp, anyhow. Yeah, so I'll share it.
The world, of course, being the creator of everything, having the omnipotent.
Let's see how she does. You don't have to watch it all, but we can watch some of it. Okay, let's see. Okay. Let's see if it works.
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay. So Jesus being the creator of the world, and of course being the creator of everything, having the omni qualities, omniscient and omnipotent. You said that when he was younger, he went to school to learn. What was it?
He went to school to learn Hebrew.
Oh, okay. So Jesus.
And also learn how to like preach and stuff like that, be a leader.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. So that's amazing. You're Jesus, we all know Jesus is wonderfully omniscient, and he went to school to learn Hebrew. How long was he there?
Yeah, she's Scottish.
He was there for a certain amount of years until he got older. Until he used to play around, fool around. But he used to go to school and learn Hebrew.
And
I have to say the Bible doesn't talk about how many.
So you mean Jesus grows in wisdom? Obviously, because he's amazingly omniscient, he has to grow in wisdom, right? Hang on, believer. No, I just want to quick verse here. Obviously, Jesus being omniscient, he obviously has to grow in wisdom, right?
Wait, what? You said he's omniscient. He has to build.
Yeah, he has to grow in wisdom, right?
What do you mean by that?
Just what I said. Just all the analogies that you gave, and
you said he's omniscient. He has to grow in wisdom.
Yeah, he's omniscient, all knowledgeable, so he has to grow in wisdom, right?
What you just said didn't make any sense, because how could he be omniscient if he has to grow in wisdom if he's all knowing already? See,
that's the point. That's the point I made. That's the point I made. That's the point I made. And I asked you, is Jesus God? You said yes. And I said, okay, what makes him God? And you said he's the creator of the universe. And I said the creator of the universe is omnipotent and omniscient, all powerful and all knowing. You said yes. I said, so Jesus is all powerful, all knowing. You said yes. And I said, okay, so Jesus went to school to learn what? You said Hebrew. So God went to school to learn Hebrew. And then I said, okay, so you're omniscient Jesus. You're omniscient Jesus went to school to learn Hebrew. Bro, is omniscient Jesus went to school? Now he's saying it don't make sense. That's why you need to think, guys.
You're ignorant.
I'm not ignorant. I just asked you simple questions, bro.
You're ignorant. I'm talking about Jesus in the physical form and in the spiritual form. I'm talking about two different. When we all humans, we have a spiritual. We have spiritual lives and we have physical lives. You know what I'm talking about?
That's why I asked you, what is it that makes Jesus God? And you're saying, look. How can Jesus have the power and the knowledge to create? My dear, you're not listening. How can Jesus, the creator that creates the universe with such intricacy, size, mass, might, and power, have to go and learn Hebrew? Do you realize how that sounds? That Jesus can create the universe, the entire planets in the Milky Way and the galaxies, and still need to go to school to learn Hebrew? Are you serious, bro? Are you actually serious right now?
I have a question.
Bro,
I have
like,
a
I'm
question.
done.
The curve.
So that's a taste of her. I think I've got one more video of hers. Let me just see. I don't know what this one is. You like her? She's got that British sarcasm going on. Do you get me? That's what I like. It's
Hey, ChatGPT.
1 second. Should know these two videos are. Let me just give you. I've got one other one of hers.
Brother Ahmed, you did it. I think you should have the honors, ya akhi.
Incredible job.
No problem, Afi. It's all from Allah. It's not from me, bro.
I think you should, yeah.
So,
oh, sorry, this is
no
just a
problem.
shahada, I think.
And then we'll do the Arabic. So I bear witness.
Oh, this. Do you want to see the shahada? This is not her speech.
So I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship.
There is no God worthy of worship.
Oh, she's live now. Should we go live?
Allah.
Except Allah.
And I testify.
And I testify.
That Muhammad.
That Muhammad.
Is his last and final messenger.
Is his last and final messenger.
Beautiful, fantastic. So now we'll do the Arabic. I'll do it as slow as I can, so take your time with it. Don't stress. You ready?
American people work hard.
I'm ready.
Okay.
He was there.
Ashhadu.
Was a full-time police officer.
Ashhadu.
Getting his, he was a med.
And
So then he finished med school, and then he left the police force, and then went back part-time. That's what he does. Still works for the police. So he's always carrying his gun and his badge. He carries it everywhere. His wallet is his badge, so they get this thing in the police. It's a wallet, but it is also, it's your badge. Your badge is here. Yeah. So that's
I rate him studying medicine and working in the police force. You know, that's a lot.
I should have it here. Let me see. Yep, I do. Right there. Sorry. Where'd it go? Right, hang on. Let's see if I can.
Is Sammy gonna be moving to the UK soon? Yeah, that's what she was saying.
That was the police badge.
Yeah, so yeah, it's always great. It kind of comes everywhere, bro. It's crazy.
How do you do it? Because they carry tasers.
You know the trip I made to the US, because I actually, this is new to Oud as well, actually. I used to work for the police force here in the UK, the British Transport Police.
Let me see if I can join.
I used to work in headquarters. So I flew out with one police officer because I was involved in like, you know, like quite a few organizations, like there was like an organization in the police we had for representing.
I'll get to do a kind of resume for you. Let me see if I can join the
on a
stream.
conference to Dallas, Texas.
What's it called?
So I was the only one there, like Muslim, feeling like very uncomfortable. Like, what am I going to do about my halal food? And I felt really awkward. So
everything
I told them,
has bacon in it.
Yeah, they were eating everything haram. Yeah, and I was
bacon
like,
or cooked in bacon grease.
yeah. So, but then they got me a tuna sandwich, and then, you know, the main guy of Dallas police,
I join.
He goes, "Why didn't you tell me you eat halal food? Because I'm Muslim."
I'm requesting.
I'm like, what?
Yes.
Like, I was shocked. Like the main
let's see if
Dallas
we can get on.
superintendent,
yes,
a Muslim brother.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
It was shocking. And then I sat with him in his table and we ate halal food. And he was the main man of the show, of the force. It was crazy.
The police, honestly, I can tell you that.
I'm joining.
Here in the UK, you're not going to find a top
There's
rank high
no,
officer.
there's no.
Like Muslim
Hey,
or Muslim or
what's
black.
up, bro? How are you?
Assalamu alaikum, Hamza.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Oh,
I left. I left.
I wanted to
Oh,
chat
where'd
to
he
him,
go?
man. I need to chat to him.
Ah, man.
Where's he gone?
I left. I left.
Because I remember him from Iman Foundation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know if he's I don't know.
He's gone.
Did you invite him up?
Yeah, someone invited him, but
Oh, okay.
probably. Oh no, he's requesting. He probably dropped.
All right. Can you hear me?
Madim.
Can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum, Hamza.
Walaikum assalam. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Alhamdulillah. Walaikum
Alaikum.
assalam. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yes, brother, we can hear you.
Someone sounds familiar, Hamza. Sounds familiar. You sound familiar, Hamza.
I sound familiar. Why is that?
Brother Hamza.
Yes.
I used to know you from Iman Foundation. Iman Foundation.
Yes.
Are you still there?
Yeah, of course. Well, who's this?
Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm doing this in a weird way. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Who are we?
Yeah, I'm doing this in a weird way. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, brother.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Who are you?
No, I used to buy sweets from Hamza and in outside
No,
Iman
because
Foundation.
basically I'm.
Don't worry, Hamza. We'll eventually get there. Who we are?
No, what it is, I'm streaming to my YouTube channel, and I'm trying to do it, and I think I've done it in the wrong way. No, what it is, I'm streaming to my YouTube channel, and I'm trying to do it, and I think I've done it in the wrong way. You got 420 people watching you guys.
Oh, you're on YouTube now, Akhi.
You got
Yes.
420 people watching you guys.
Yes.
Wow. We're famous, yeah?
Yes.
Well, infamous. But basically, what it was for
Mashallah.
Deja, because she's joining the arena tomorrow.
You are infamous. But basically, what it was for Deja because she's joining the arena tomorrow.
Hey,
And we wanted her to give us a
Hi,
kind
how
of
are you, bro?
rundown of her
Thank you,
expertise.
thank you.
And we wanted her to give us a kind of rundown of her expertise.
Okay. So I'm Deja. Of course, I'm on TikTok and I do da'wah. Of course, I'm a Muslim. I've been a revert for almost 16 years now, and I, of course, do a lot of da'wah. I know Hamza we go a bit back. And yes, I, of course, teach biblical studies, criticism, Christianity. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, we just shared your video where you were speaking to that guy said about
your
Jesus
video
learning
where
Hebrew.
you were speaking to that guy said about Jesus learning Hebrew.
Yes. Oh, did you share that one? Yeah, that was quite funny. I think there's a little bit of a lag on my side. I do apologize for that. Hang on.
1 second.
No, it's just me. It's just me. It's because I'm streaming it through to YouTube from.
No, it's just me. It's just me. It's because I'm streaming it through to YouTube from a second screen.
So don't worry. I was just jumping in your live. That was all.
Salam,
just to
Warner,
convey
how are you?
salams. I'll jump on you again when I'm not
So
live
don't worry.
streaming.
I was just jumping in your live. That was all. Just to convey salams. I'll jump on you again when I'm not live streaming.
Yeah, no problem, inshallah. We do very random times. Sometimes I keep my live open for a long time, you know.
Yeah, we just kept it few numbers today just because we wanted to chat because we just chatting away with each other there. It was good. Sometimes it's good when it's quiet. You get to talk about different issues. Yeah, different issues and how we deal with this. So how are you, brother? How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. I've just finished a Twitter stream with Muhammad Ali with some.
I think he's probably just.
Yeah, I'm good. I've just finished a Twitter stream with Muhammad Ali with some.
With a guy called Johnnyuniteds, some non-Muslim, got 85,000 followers on Twitter.
A guy called Johnnyuniteds, some non-Muslim, got 85,000 followers on Twitter.
Wow.
So we was like responding to some of the usual accusations against Islam, age of Aisha,
Can we see you in Iman Foundation anymore?
Some of the usual accusations against
Juma.
Islam,
I'm a Juma Muslim now.
Although I'm just going to try and get another device, brother, so I can check the stream. Just bear with me a sec. I've got a bit of a lag on this one. It's I do apologize.
No, the lag is me. The lag is me. The lag is me. The lag is me.
Bear with me. I'll
no, the lag is me. The lag is me. The lag is me. The lag is me.
Don't worry. All right, I'll catch you guys again. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Don't worry. All right, I'll catch you guys again. Take care.
Inshallah.
Okay,
I'm looking forward to it. Yes. Yeah. We'll see you then tomorrow. But I'll give you a message. Just let me know. Is it before you give me all the information anyway? Yeah.
Inshallah. Okay, I'll send you the link. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah. Okay, I'll send you the link. Assalamu alaikum.
All right. Wa alaikum salam. Bye.
Well, that didn't work. But you get the gist.
I think because he was streaming.
Yeah, because I was streaming. Oh! That was terrible. But anyway, yes, mashallah. So that's the Sister Deja. She's Scottish. She's got good knowledge. She's going to chew Christians up. So it's going to be fun. Central kind of had enough of you. So the arena is going to be fun tomorrow. So it's going to be Deja, Canadian brother, and brother Zaki Hussein, inshallah. Is that you? Is that you, Khadija, or is that a different Khadija? That can't be that Khadija. Or maybe is that you, Khadija? It's a different Khadija, that isn't it? Yeah, mugging me off. All right. Yeah. I just clocked it when she said what time. I was like, wait a minute, I just messaged you what time. All right, no worries. All right. Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair for everybody joining this particular stream. It was a bit of an impromptu stream, and I shall see you tomorrow for the arena warm up, inshallah, and then obviously the main event after that. I'm not going to game tonight. I'm going to get some sleep. So, Kay, is it? Let's see. Let me put the link out for you, Kay. Jump on just quickly then, just 5 minutes. Come on, arena warm up. I want to make that point about alcohol. Joe, no, do that in Sunday chill. No problem, dude. We'll soon see if it is her. At least you'll know then how to come on. If it helps, she's married. That will throw water on the fire. I can't come back on your live. You jump on this live just quickly. Just click the link. You can't log in here. You have to log in here. How are you going to come on the arena? Yeah, I had to throw water on the fire straight away. All right, I'm going to bed. Assalamu alaikum. See you for the warm-up. Take care. All you gamers, I should be gaming again on Saturday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Here come Lion. What's she saying? Oh. One second. We're still here.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wait, so you're still live, yeah? Go on, carry on.
Yes, it is me, KG.
Okay, mashallah.
It is, guys, it is me. Yes, I'm going to set things up properly before the arena, but yes, that's me.
Okay, cool. So basically, the way to come on the arena is very simple. That link I send you, just click it, come backstage, and then I add you. It's not a problem. Inshallah.
Yeah, no worries. No, I'm going to be doing it on my desktop. I won't be obviously using phone stuff, so I'm going to set that up there. It's going to be all fine for tomorrow.
Okay, that's fantastic then. Okay, then we'll see you tomorrow then, inshallah.
No worries, inshallah. I'll be listening in.
Take care, my sister. I'm going now. I'm going to bed now. Anyway, take care.
Okay. Cool.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So yeah, so mashallah, that's a new gladiator. I know I'm taking a risk bringing a sister, but she seems to have the knowledge, and I think she's going to really surprise a few of these Christians. It's going to be fun watching, because, like I said, when she's hanging around with the likes of Ramsey and Wissam and Dean Responds and these young boys who are up and coming, you know she's going to have some knowledge, inshallah. So the arena is going to be 9:30. The warm up is going to be probably 8 o'clock. Before that. Oh no, I'll let Rob on. I'll let her deal with Rob. Inshallah. All right, I'm done. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Like I said, I'll see you for the arena warm up. 8 o'clock. Here comes the lion.